Yo, Atlas speaking, and welcome to a brand new series on the channel. What if I was reborn in the world of Avatar: The Last Airbender as the world's greatest water-bending prodigy? Synopsis: some are born great, some achieve greatness, and others have greatness thrust upon them. William Shakespeare. This story is about the latter. A man with no recollection of his name finds himself in the world of Avatar, forcing to accept the idea that the show he once watched as a kid is not, in fact, fictional has taken a massive toll on him. Torn as he is between the awesomeness of his newfound powers as well as its absurdity of how everything came to be, he will do what humans do best. He will overcome and adapt, and greatness will follow. Make sure to follow and support the author linked in the description. Let the tale begin. Chapter 1. For a fact that I always left the computer on, and for some reason my bed was cold and somewhat wet. This was odd, to say the least. I rolled around and moved my arm to brush the really uncomfortable wetness on my back as my eyes started to acclimatize to the environment. I grimaced in shock as the situation started to finally sink in. Maybe this was a dream, and with that in mind I closed my eyes once again in denial. But as soon as I opened my eyes again with the hopes of finding a different sight, all I could see and confirm were my original thoughts. I wasn't in my house anymore. How in the fuck I ended up in the Arctic? I frantically whipped my head around, trying to find out where I was and more importantly how the fuck I got here, but all I could see was miles and miles of white snow in every freaking direction, and that did not help to alleviate my panic. I carefully sat down, deciding to analyze my situation. Was I kidnapped? If so, why would anyone want me in this ice tundra? Did they take any organs perhaps? Was this the way they dealt with people after harvesting them? No, this was too expensive and defeated their purpose. As I pondered what and how, I noticed something. My body was different, very different. I was white, but my skin was a light brown tone. Odd, too, I felt smaller. I was normally 6 foot tall, but right now I kind of felt a foot shorter. While the idea was preposterous and idiotic, something in the back of my head told me this wasn't the body I was used to. So this is either a really realistic dream, or somehow I ended up in a different body. I kind of feel bad for the old guys in my neighborhood that said they were abducted by aliens, 'cause I kinda understand them now. I thought as I stared intently at my hands. If this was a dream, I was bound to wake up sooner or later, but the lingering thought of this being real was so settled in my head that I feared my mind was right. Well, if this is real, I will die out here. So let's see, where do I go? Before I could even decide in which direction I would walk and then die, a sound caught my attention. Something was coming towards me. Before I could even find where the sound was coming from, something knocked me off my feet headfirst into the snow. Great! Turning to see what had tackled me to the ground, I found something disturbing in front of me. It was cute, I suppose, but unfortunately every feeling I had was overshadowed by my current situation. A probably biologically impossible creature was above me. It kinda looked like an otter, and a penguin had too much to drink, and well, this came out. Now that I think about it, I have only seen this in. Oh, well, I suppose that explains the snow. If this was real, at least I knew where I was, in the world of Avatar. Awesome, not the world I would have picked, but certainly not a bad one, I suppose. Glass half full kind of situation. I pushed the overly friendly otter penguin off me as I breathed out in agitation, but something caught my attention. The otter penguin started to slide away, too fast, afraid, if I had to guess. Taking a deep breath, I glanced around, trying to see if I was being too crazy. Something was moving, but I couldn't really tell with everything being white around. I swore I saw something there. I narrowed my eyes at the spot, and I saw it. Suddenly yellow dots that I had failed to notice started to move towards me. What is that? I pondered, taking a few steps back, and apparently it was the wrong call, because whatever it was decided to attack. Letting out a loud growl, the creature leapt from the snow, and I was finally able to see what it really was. A fucking polar bear dog, and I still don't regret not taking that class about surviving in the wild. I shouted as I tried to outrun a creature that could absolutely outrun me. Not exactly my smartest move. The beast snarled at me, running behind me, ready to eat me. I don't taste good. I live off trash food, I yelled in fear. However, my screams of terror only made me look tastier, because the polar bear dog lunged at me. For a second everything froze in my mind. What did I have around me that I could use? Snow. Can I kill anything with that? Fuck. In panic and knowing I could not escape, I decided to go down fighting. I knew many martial arts, and while they were useless against animals, I might deliver some damage. With that in mind, I threw my strongest punch at his eye. The fucker would go down one eye after today. I closed my eyes doing this, and all I could focus on were the giant teeth headed my way. The needle-sharp, saliva-dripping maw is coming to consume. And coming. And coming. And that sure was a painless death, or I have nothing. Brain? As I tried to get an answer, I noticed something was not right. I could hear a dog whimpering in pain, opening my eyes with hesitation as I looked around, seeing the polar bear dog whimpering, his white fur covered in blood as many ice spikes were piercing his body. I'm okay with this development. As the adrenaline left my body, my head sagged. Whatever happened, it was me. If this was really the world of the Avatar, I might have some bending skills, and by my ethnic looks, waterbending was possibly my thing now. The pain started to spread around my body. It seemed the bear managed to scratch me, and under the adrenaline rush, I felt nothing until now. Great, that was the last thing I thought before I passed out. Waking up for the second time was better than the first. The first thing I noticed was that this time I was on a bed. The weather was still cold, but somehow more bearable. Then the smell of tea invaded my nose. It took him a few seconds to realize I was inside a tent of sorts from the outside. I could hear voices and people moving. With that, I bolted up in surprise. Where am I? I muttered, looking around, as my stomach growled all of a sudden. I was starving, but for the looks of my treated wound, I was not a prisoner. God. I'm hungry. Oh, finally, a tall man with a short beard entered the tent with a wide smile. I was starting to think you would not wake up. My name is you. How are you feeling, buddy? I feel alive, thanks. I smiled. Nasty cut you got there, you chuckled, pointing with his hands to the blood-covered rags he had used to clean me, which brought one single thought to my head. How the fuck was I still alive? That much blood. Dear Lord. Wow, I gulped in shock. But we found, thanks to the blood, you smiled, as he served me a cup of tea. We have some soup if you want. I nodded with enthusiasm. I would love that. I was hungry, and free food is known to taste better. All right, I'll be back, you smiled, but I stopped him before he left, for I had one question. Where am I? I asked once again. I wanted to know exactly where I was before making plans. I'd said 30 miles away from the Northern Water Tribe, you answered as he left to serve me the soup he offered. Well, I suppose my first order of business is learning how to control my only weapon in this not-so-peaceful world. Waterbending can be quite the terrifying power with enough creativity, not a dream. Well, shit, I chuckle seeing my reflection on a mirror I found in the tent. I understand now why I was smaller. It was for a good reason. By my looks I would say I was 12 or 13, instead of 25. Well, another realization hit me. I didn't remember my name. Fuck. Chapter 2. I had fallen asleep once again, and the first thing I noticed as I woke up was that the pain where my injury should have been was mostly gone, then the hard and slightly cold bed floor under me, followed by the smell of food being cooked. It took me a few seconds to realize I was on a bed with bandages over my injuries, something I had not been expecting at all after my encounter with that wild amalgamation. Apparently, I had found myself in a house of sorts, with ice for walls. It was different than anything I had seen before, meaning this was real. I was actually in this fantasy world. Taking a deep breath, I noticed the room had a door that was only about 10 feet across the bed I was laying in. The door was open, letting the cold breeze of winter go through. Outside, the sounds of people filled the air, talking probably, but considering I didn't hear that many people, it was safe to assume I wasn't in a city, but in a small tribe. I could not help but stare in delight mixed with a tinge of fear at how lovely and tremendously overwhelming everything looked. This was real. I had someone who found myself in the not-so-peaceful world of Avatar. A show that meant a lot to me during my childhood, but not a place I would choose to be, as I pondered over my situation. A shadow appeared at the door. It was an old man of about 60 years old, his long blue hair tied into a high ponytail. He was wearing a robe with the color scheme of the water tribe. "Ah, so you are finally awake." The old man sat down beside me on a chair. "The polar bear dog almost got you. Luckily my son, you happened to pass by just in time. My name is Mikado." "What is your name?" "Name, yeah, something I have for some reason beyond me forgotten, Akira. I don't know why that came out, but it seems I will just go with it." "I'm glad you are good, Akira. It is not every day you get to fight one of those beasts," the old man said with a serious look as he beckoned towards the door, and an old woman walked in. "This is my wife, Maru. She was that one that healed you. A pleasure to meet you." I tried to bow my head, just to feel a sharp pain on my chest. "You have been injured, so don't exert yourself," explained Maru with a worried look. She then pulled out a pot of water out of her dress, and started to manipulate the liquid with very fluent motions over my body, making me feel a lot better. "My healing techniques are quite rusty, but this will help you feel better. Now stretch your arms." Seeing she was my doctor for the moment, I did as I was told. "Yes ma'am, it will take a while for you to be at full health, but this should do for now," Maru informed me. "Water healing will only help a bit. You need to rest so you can slowly recover over time. Of course it is much faster with tonics and stuff. For now take this every 4 hours." The old lady smiled as she filled a small bottle with the liquid she used to heal me and handed it to me. "If you feel any pain, that should help," Maru smiled. I studied the item in my hands. The ceramic bottle had a cork lid and was warm to the touch. "Thanks," Makoto sighed. "This area is no longer safe. Since the war started, all the animals have been migrating out of their zones. Next time you are outside, be careful." Before I could even acknowledge the old man with a response, screams erupted in the village, and deep down I felt something was very wrong, and it was because something about the size of a bear shot in from outside, landing in front of us. The old man got in position between us and the polar bear dog and attacked with a water blade, but the amalgamation tanked the attack and lunged at him. Makoto yelled as it bit him on the side, blood splattering everywhere. I was a firm believer that if I had to die it would be fighting. I mean, that was if I didn't have any other choice, and this seemed to be the case right now. With that in mind, I leapt to my feet out of the bed and, without thinking, I grabbed the closest thing to me and hit the beast on the head. The amalgamation fell back a bit, dropping Makoto on the floor. Angry at my attack, the beast snarled and jumped at me, baring its sharp spiky teeth. Once again I was at death's doors. I knew that much. I was going to die. My attack didn't damage the monster at all, and it only severely pissed him off. It was all or nothing. I was hurt and had no idea how to use any bending skills, so as the beast leaped at me, midair, hoping for the best, I threw a fist at the monster and a torrent of ice hit the beast, killing it, as its body dropped to the floor, lifeless. "Impressive," Makoto muttered, holding his wounded stomach tight as he sighed. To think they would attack the village. My heart was pounding. This time I actually felt something when I created that ice pillar. It was after I was swimming in a pool, the same feeling I would normally get after getting out of a pool. It was exhilarating. Yet, this was something I had very little control over, but still I could feel the water in the air, the tide of the sea on my foot when I had summoned that ice pillar to attack the amalgamation, and the impact that had vibrated from the ice pillar to my very core. It was as if the water was an extension of my own body, a part of me now. Before I could fully recover from the unexpected incident with yet again another beast of the same species, Maru cried out behind me. "Watch out! There's another one!" I turned in time to see as a similar creature leapt at me, but this time, before I even tried to replicate what I had just done, a massive water whip pulled the beast out of the tent, slamming the beast to the ground. "I apologize, father. I had to deal with the ones attacking the village first. I didn't see these two coming here," you said as he entered the tent, panting. "They were a pack, coming for you." The warrior pointed at me. "You killed their cub and the pack came. The first monster I killed was a cub?" "Sorry, in the end it was my fault, if they came to avenge their cub." "It's alright, it's the reason we brought you here, though I didn't expect the pack to be this large," you sighed. "Are you okay, Dad?" "I'm fine, a bit chewed, but fine," Makoto chuckled as Maru healed him with WaterBending. "He saved our lives. Your dad is not combat ready anymore," and young Akira stepped up to the challenge. Maru smiled. I didn't expect someone so young to be such a powerful bender. I have no idea how I did it though, I sighed. Chapter 3. After a week of recovering, that included a lot of rest and water healing, the day of my training to learn how to use the only tool that would help me survive on this world finally came. Makoto himself had offered to teach me. I walked up to Makoto W. The old man smiled as he stood up. Follow me outside. I did as I was told, walking close behind the old man outside his house. Besides snow and some tents, there wasn't much to see. The old couple's tent/house was in the middle of the modest village I was currently stuck in. As I walked behind him, I decided to take a quick glimpse around the village, trying to get a feeling of what my new world was, and it was both beautiful and terrifying. This is Hoppo Village. We are mostly hunters, said Makoto with a smile, before guiding me to what he called the training ground of the house, which was only a very patch of open land. Is beautiful, I didn't lie, this place was beautiful. I always loved rural areas, they had a charm cities would never have. It is. Unfortunately, we are in times of war, and to survive such dangerous times like this, you need to learn how to control the gift that has been given to you, said Makoto with a sorrowful expression. The old man placed one foot forward, bending his knees, holding his left hand out in front of him, palm forward, while his right stood behind his back loose but ready to move, his stance remarkably similar to many Tai Chi stances I had seen before. Take my stance. Drawing from the little experience I had with Tai Chi, I copied the old man the best I could. Now focus your energy and thoughts into the tides, feel the water carrying you, feel the water guiding you, and once you feel that, redirect that feeling into yourself and push it forward. Like this, said Makoto, doing a swift motion where his left hand shot forward, and the water on the pond front of him seemed to react to his action, creating a tide. Now it's your turn. Don't feel sad if you can't draw it. Right now your bending is tied to your emotions, so without a trigger you might find yourself in troubles. He was right. Both times I felt said connection I had been on a fight or flight situation, and even now I was a bit skeptical of all of this. A part of me wanted to believe this was a dream, as there was no way such a thing could happen in the real world. Getting transported into another world was ludicrous. But another part of me knew, this was too real to be fake, to be a simple fantasy. All right, I nodded, concentrating on repeating the motions Makoto had shown me. Taking a deep breath, I repeated every motion I had seen, and for a brief moment I felt the energy, my connection with the water as Makoto had said. I could feel as the energy, the water itself flowing through me, from deep within my stomach. It traveled up and down every part of my body. It was intoxicating. At the same time, during the last motion I felt a large portion of this intoxicating connection draining from my body into the water, creating a big tide on the pond that scared the crap out of some kids close to the pond. Impressive. Makoto muttered, to think you would do it at your first try. I had a good teacher. I was beyond happy. I can probably speak for any man in the world when I said we all wanted a superpower at some point, and now I had it. I was like an idiot looking at my hands in disbelief. Did I really do that? Of course I did, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of giddy delight building up inside of me. Fuck anyone who blames me. Makoto patiently waited, with a smile quietly for me to collect my dignity. I was after all having a fanboy moment. When I finally turned to look at him, the old man smiled at my enthusiasm. This is nothing but the basics. We don't really have any masters here. For you to get a real master you would need to go to the Northern Water Tribe, but I suppose I could teach you all I know so you can at the very least know the basics. What about you? I inquired. He seemed like a competent waterbender. My son is no master. All he knows only works with beasts. All the skills he exhibits are for hunting, Makoto explained. I see. I nodded in acknowledgement. Now, practice that motion until lunch is ready, Makoto chuckled, going back to his humble home, and being honest, I didn't need to be told twice. I wanted to practice this. I practiced for hours on the same movement, noticing that nothing came absolutely free. I didn't control water just because, no. I had to give something in return, energy. It took a few hours to tire the heck out of me, and I knew Tai Chi motions would not tire me. It was the bending part that added that problem to the equation. I have never been so tired in my life, I panted, Maybe it was also the fact that I was probably a preteen or teen right now. My body was bound to be weaker to some extent. Lunch is ready, Maru called out, and it was music to my ears. I was starving. Coming! I answered her with a starving smile. As I trotted to the kitchen, things weren't so bad for me. I had food and shelter, at least for now. We made some polar dog bear soup, Maru announced. Not exactly what I would eat, but, like my father used to say, if you don't have options you take what is given to you. Survival above anything else. How was the training? Makoto inquired, already sitting on the table. Exhausting, I replied with a smile. Chapter 4, and the days passed, with me practicing and learning everything Makoto decided to teach me. Apparently I had a knack for it, which was weird considering my original world had no magic or mystical shit, unless you count politicians doing nothing but still being elected, but that's not magic. But the point was that I had learned how to move water and shape it in forms really fast. Though I still lacked the concentration to use it in a fight, I was still able to mold it. Alright, enough training for today, I sighed as I looked at the sun far away in the sky, which was now halfway on its journey toward the horizon, which meant I had to go and find Yu's hunting group. I wanted to venture further into the ice tundra, more than I would normally do. And today was my chance to do so. After all, I had been invited to accompany the village hunting party with the intention of seeing them up close. Who knows? Perhaps I might even have the chance to use my skills or learn something new. Either way, this would be very interesting. So what are we hunting? I inquired my small hunting group that consisted of a girl 1 year older than me and a guy that looked older than everyone, but was actually my age, my biological age that was. But before I could even get an answer, a powerful growl that thundered deep within my head interrupted everyone swallowing any other sound. The sound was so loud that made me clutch in pain. All of this was accompanied by the sight of one of the hunters the village had previously sent a few days running towards us as fast as his legs allowed him to, with absolute terror showing on his face. "Run!" cried the unknown hunter. "Run! How long have I been here? 2 months? Maybe more? And once again I'm probably on a fight or flight situation. Terrific, fuck," I muttered as I saw the man trip on his feet, falling face first into the snow, as the unknown beast was charging at him at full speed. Fuck +1. I was an idiot. Normally I would let bygones be bygones. People get themselves in awful situations, and it's really not my problem to help them. They can help themselves. But this village had been more than nice to me, a total stranger, so here I was running towards my own death, trying to save him. Was this a bad choice? Maybe? But there was no time to regret it now. Time to put to use what I have learned about waterbending, I thought as I pushed the man out of what seemed to look like a tiger mixed with a turtle and a bear together. The beast turned its attention to me, charging at full speed. Now if we all gang on it we will. Oh, I had failed to notice my hunting group had abandoned me. Even the guy I had saved. Great. Well, is like they say, no good deed goes unpunished, and here I was facing the largest animal I had ever seen on person, being almost as tall and big as an elephant, but way faster and lethal probably. "Take this fucker," I said, creating an ice prison around him, with many ice pillars. I was quite happy my bending was working under pressure, but my technique apparently meant nothing to the beast, who broke through the ice cage with its claws and fangs, tossing his paws left and right in fury. What kind of god decided to make this diabolical amalgamations? The beast growled, blasting at me like a bullet, but I dodged its charge first by pushing myself into the air with a burst of snow. Once I was in a better position, I started to try and sink the beast deep within the snow, freezing the bastard to death, but all it took the beast was one growl to break free of my restraints. "Great," I muttered, deciding to go for a more lethal approach, taking a stance. I waited as the beast rushed towards me, dodging the assault at the last human possible second, using this very moment to land a water-based pressure blade on its neck. And while the attack did manage to cut a bit of flesh, the beast didn't even flinch. Once again I had only severely pissed my enemy off. Well, I cursed as I pushed myself out of the way with the snow beneath my feet as the beast swung its massive claw at me. In hindsight, I'm doing way better than in my training right now. Apparently the imminent fear of death is an awesome teacher. It was clear the beast would not go down easily, but at least now I had a weak point to target, the wound I had delivered on its neck. With that in mind, every time I dodged its attacks, I would deliver a water pressure blade on the same spot I had done before, taking my distance after each attack, repeating the same over and over again, but I had failed to account for the beast's durability. The wound the beast had looked serious, bleeding a lot, but apparently not enough to kill it, and while I knew I was close to killing the beast, I was almost all out of energy. "You are one tough monster," I panted, wondering why haven't the village sent someone to help me. It had been an hour already, more than enough time to send someone. I had energy for 2 attacks. After all, I would be out of the fight, not being able to bend with enough strength to actually do something. The beast turned its monstrous face at me, growling, his bleeding neck turning the snow beneath him from a clear white to a red carmesy. In my defense, "You attacked me first," I shrugged, bracing myself as the massive deadly creature rushed at me and flew at full speed. This was my last chance to decapitate the monster. Once the beast was close enough, its tail slapped me out of the way, but I was ready to receive some damage. It was part of the all-or-nothing plan. As the tail hit me, the water blade finally managed to decapitate the monster. It wasn't something fast though. The blade went slowly through the monster necks as the giant amalgamation let out a long monstrous scream that lasted for a minute before it fell to the ground in a thunderous thud. "Oh, God, life insurance policies rates must be through the roof here," I panted, finally taking a break. "I knew you could do it," confused as to who said that. I turned around finding you and the Hunter clan behind him. "You passed the adulthood test of the clan, congrats. Next time, I won't help." To think he would take on a juggernaut alone, not even you. Chapter 5. The test I had endured was beyond stupid for someone that had never used water bending on a real fight, and still these idiots thought, let's have the kid fight an amalgamation that is the equivalent of a modern world tank. "I'm leaving today," I informed the elder of the village, and while I was thankful for the help they provided me in my time of need, I was ready to move forward. "If you want you could stay here. We don't have much, but we are all a family," Makoto offered. "I appreciate the gesture, but I need to see the world, and I didn't want to be subject to their weird tribal tests." "I see," Makoto sighed, "then have always in mind, you'll be part of the tribe. That's something you can't change," he smiled. I smiled. "I won't." It took me roughly 2 hours to say my goodbyes to everyone in the village. Some were sad, others were happy that I got to travel, making the experience a roller coaster of weird emotions. "Take this map," you said, as he handed a map to me. "Use it to navigate the area. You might need to get a new one though, this one barely covers the north." I opened the map with care, seeing the village on it, and further north, the Northern Water Tribe, and, well, I had no idea how to read a map, but oh well, no time like the present to learn. "Thanks," I smiled. "Next time I see you. I want to see a master, so be ready to kick my ass next time, or I'll kick yours." You laughed. I looked at him, and all I could see was the flashbacks of my deadly tribal test where I had to fight that enormous beast, and they didn't even have the decency of telling me. "Oh, don't worry, your ass will be kicked," I answered with a cold tone. Is that a red flag?" You asked one of his friends. "Crimson," the unimportant friend answered. "Well, it was a pleasure. Thanks for saving me, and teaching me how to better use my powers." "Until next time," I said the last part with a dark overtone that startled you. The north was beautiful. No, maybe the first few hours this shit was beautiful, but after walking for hours non-stop, seeing nothing but snow and ice, and the sporadic creature trying to eat me, I was bored. This place was incredibly dull. But I suppose not everything was bad. The cold didn't bother me anymore, not since I had learned the basics of waterbending, with one of the techniques being temperature regulation, quite handy if you live in this icy hell. "Let's see," I said as I opened the map. Yep. "I'm lost," I sighed. I knew I was on my way to the Northern Water Tribe, but how far was I? Or where exactly? Yeah, no idea. I turned around trying to see if I could see something remarkable around that I could locate in the map, and to my surprise, there was a little house in the distance. "Who in the fuck builds a house in the middle of nowhere?" I muttered. a bit surprised of this development, but happy nonetheless. I was tired after walking for so long, and I wanted to rest, and this house seemed like the best option right now. It takes me a few minutes to get there, but I managed to get to the house. The house looks old and abandoned, and without me even noticing I find myself climbing the exterior rickety ladder leading to the attic of the old house. Why was I going to the attic? No idea. With a heave and a cloud of dust, I opened the door to the attic, taking a peek into the room. An alarmed caw and a flutter of wings informed me of the presence of a bird's nest somewhere in the darkness above. Caw, and soon enough a raven cawed somewhat angrily at me, landing in front of me, like saying, "You woke me up," or something. "I'm sorry." I chuckled, and to my surprise the raven took a good look at me, inspecting me for a second, and surprisingly enough, nodded, accepting my apology. Getting over my initial shock that the animal was smart enough to understand me. "Well, thanks, buddy," I chuckled as I decided to take a good look around, surveying an odd collection of trash. Yeah, small stuff like forks and spoons and broken pieces of weapons that clutter the dusty attic. "Did you get all that stuff?" I inquired. The raven nodded, with a hint of pride, caw. "Caw, all right," I chuckled, as I took a deep breath, taking in the odd smell of the room, as I noticed something that was spamming my mind with red flags. Something was moving within the shadows of the attic, and by the looks of it, it was big. "Do you have any roommates?" I inquired, the oddly intelligent raven. "Caw," the raven shook his little head off, confirming my suspicions. A low hiss, and the touch of something I didn't excite sent an involuntary shiver running down my spine. And apparently I was not the only one to get this reaction, because my feathery friend was already inside my jacket, peering around nervously through the neck part of my jacket. Heart thumping, I carefully start looking around, seeing the shadow moving around the attic. Hell to the fucking no. I will not be a part of Saw. There are a few things I can't deal with: bad food, bad movies, and this. I do not deal well with IT-type situations, and because of that, I blasted the house with a massive ice spike, drawing from the tons of ice outside. My attack made the lurking predator appear, a snake, with legs and arms, and fangs. Maybe I'm not in the Avatar world, but Australia, now, this is more like it. I smiled at the beast, for now the fear I had a few seconds ago had vanished. If there was one thing I feared was the unknown. Not knowing who or what is attacking you takes a toll on my mind. Unfortunately for the snake, I knew now. With a loud hiss of anger, the amalgamation rushed at me, its fangs ready to dig deep within my flesh. Too bad for the beast I had faced worst. Maybe the test really helped. Chop, I said as I dodged and cut the monster's head with a single ice blade. "Well, that sure was something. Sorry for your house, buddy," I said, petting the raven inside my jacket. The raven looked at me, looked at his house, and then looked at the monster, and in the split of a second his expression went from fear, to anger, to admiration. "Caw, thanks, I guess." I chuckled. Chapter 6. It was around noon in the Northern Water Tribe when I finally managed to get to the city, with my new companion, who I have been calling Crowley. The streets around the city were incredibly busy, making it hard to see around, but I had finally arrived, so I was happy. Now it was time to find some place to sleep. Not that it was hard. I could probably sleep in the snow if I have to, but I rather check for options first. The city was a labyrinth of streets and lanes, with everything, or at least the big majority of it, being made out of ice. I suppose it's a smart idea to use ice in this area. Around the streets I could see a lot of shops and stalls selling everything imaginable, from fans to carved wooden toys to food and weapons. It was remarkable. Then there were the ice buildings that appeared to be residences, and close to the center, the manors and temples, probably where the rich people of this place lived. As I surveyed the area, I saw what I was looking for: an inn, Moonlight Inn. It seemed to be small, and probably within my economic range. I didn't have much money, and the little I had was given to me by the villagers in the tribe. "Moonlight Inn, do you want to try there, buddy?" I asked my feathery companion, inside my jacket. "Caw," Crowley nodded. "All right, I had all the green lights I needed. Time to see if I can afford this," I sighed as I stepped through the door into the icy interior of the Moonlight Inn. Surprisingly enough, not everything was made out of ice, just the structures. As I was admiring the inn, seeing the small details carved into the ice wall, a nameless inmate approached me. "Young man, would you like a table?" she offered politely. I looked at the young maid, and said, "I would actually like to inquire about a room. I can help you with that." The maid smiled, as she guided me to a table. "A night is 5 cooper, but if you stay a week, the nights go down to 3 coopers each." Huh, and I had 5 silver. Why in the hell did the villagers in the tribe give me so much money? Not that I was complaining, but heck. Why? I would like to stay a month. Is there a discount for that? The maid hummed deep in thought. "How about this? A silver a month, and we give out a meal a day, and a weekly laundry service. Does that sound fair?" See, negotiation works when you know the price and value of things. You can't negotiate if you don't know jack shit of the product, but ignorance was not going to stop me. 2 meals a day, for me and my companion, and we have a deal. Me drive a hard bargain, but sure. The nameless maid smiled. Well, now that the housing situation was fixed, it was time to rest. "Well, I'm super tired. Can I get my room?" "Sure, give me a minute." The maid nodded. As the maid left, I started to pet Crowley as I reminded myself I was here to learn water bending properly. After that, well, I had no idea what I wanted to do, but at the very least I would have the power to defend myself. "Here you go," the maid said, giving a key that had a little tag that said Room R. I inquired, trying to make sure I understood. "Yes," the maid nodded. "Now for the payment," she added, extending her hand. "Oh yes," I chuckled, giving her the silver coin. "Here you go." "Terrific." The maid giggled. "Enjoy your stay. People here sure are lively." How can anyone keep that charade when in times of war? It really shocks me, but I suppose it's better to be happy than angry and sad all the time, though that would be more realistic for me. I smiled. My room was fairly simple. I had a bed, a wooden floor, and a mirror. That was it, but it served its purpose, a place for me to sleep. "Are you comfortable, buddy?" I inquired, as I saw Crowley jumping in the bed. Caw, the excited raven ignored me as he kept on jumping on the bed. And I couldn't help but smile at the sight. I was an animal lover. I mean, I think I was on the normal version of Earth. Some of the amalgamations I have found here are unlovable, but in general I always liked animals, and because of that I always wanted to understand them, like in a deeper meaning, and with Crowley, I kind of felt the little guy was able to understand anything I said, and that alone was refreshing. "Alright, you keep on jumping." I chuckled. Sakura, the nameless maid POV, a tribal kid, we don't get those often around here. His clothes and lack of knowledge about the prices was adorable. 1 silver a month. I almost hugged the brat for how adorably stupid he was. 1 silver didn't even cover a night here. But, well, I have a weak heart for kids like him. Good thing I'm the owner. Room R is paying 1 silver. Give him 3 meals a day, for him and his raven. Another stray? The chef, Roku, inquired. "Yes, so?" I narrowed my eyes. "It's getting out of my pocket. You still get your pay." I know, but it's not a wise business model," Roku shrugged. "Let Miss Sakura be," the head maid smiled. "Didn't he close the deal for 2 meals though?" "I know, but, well, you know me," I smiled. The guard laughed. Before falling into the world of slumber, I traced a line in the air with my fingers. I had some goals I wanted to accomplish. I wanted to be the best waterbender. I wanted to be the strongest bloodbender, and most importantly, I wanted to find Iroh and have some tea with him. Yeah, those are some good goals. I can live with that. Chapter 7. I surveyed the streets of the Northern Water Tribe, asking where I could find Paku, and I had yet to find someone that knew or wanted to tell me. As I walked, the snow beneath me squeaked as someone put his hand on my shoulder. I turned and looked, wondering who it was, finding a large man with long hair and a rugged bearded face. He had the typical attire I had soldiers wear, with a blue headband tied on his right arm. The man's menacing expression immediately put me on edge. "So, are you the kid asking for Master Paku?" inquired the man. His voice was rough and had a threatening tone to it as his hand clenched in a tight fist. Yes, I answered, not backing down, though deep down I knew the man standing in front of me was vastly superior in waterbending and that I had no chance of defeating him, at least for now. Why? Inquired the man, gripping my shoulder with enough strength to make me flinch a bit, and it was clear to me now, this man was a bully. I knew how to tell when someone was simply looking for trouble, and this man was only looking to fight, maybe overcompensating for something. Why else would he want to beat a kid? That's my business, I said. It's mine now, said the man, as he glared at me. Well, good luck finding out. I didn't mind answering questions. Heck, if this idiot had done his job better, he would have known I was looking for Paku to learn waterbending. But I simply don't allow bullies to push me around, even if they can beat the crap out of me. Follow me, said the man, after giving a long scrutinizing look. Knowing I really had no chance of winning, I decided to do as he said, as I found a way to escape, and so I followed him as he led me up some stairs in a building nearby. As soon as my foot touched the first step, I felt ice forming beneath my feet and instinctively jumped backwards to avoid the spike of ice that had formed. Huh, so you couldn't wait to kill me on a private spot? I'm flattered, I said, taking my stance. If I was going to die, I would go down fighting. Not bad, said the man, with a smile. God, please tell me he is not the Hisoka of this universe. I need an adult, I muttered. I am an adult, said the man, with a confused look. Do you want to meet Master Paku, yes or no? He offered. Pointing at the ice spike, I chuckled. I was already on edge with you before. Now, well, turn that to 11, wise. Never trust anyone blindly, said the man, as he pointed to the roof above us, where a man with a bored expression was sitting. He was the one that attacked you, to see if you had any talent, and if I didn't? I asked. Oh, calm down, kid. I only solidified the spear after you dodged it, said the man in the roof, with a low chuckle. Lying bastard. I felt the ice forming. He wanted to hurt me. Well, Akira, you have two options here. You either confront the crazy duo and die, or you try to play along. Play along it is. Oh, I see, I sighed, pretending to be relieved. So you want to meet Master Paku? Inquired the man once again. Yes, I nodded. Going back to following the man, he led me to a corridor inside the building that in the end had one single door. The man nodded at me to go in. And taking a deep breath, I slid open the door wide, a cleanly shaven old man sitting on a blue sky cushion on the ice-cold floor, and it didn't take another look to confirm I was standing in front of Paku, though he was missing his trademark goatee and mustache. Come in, Akira, Paku said pleasantly, gesturing to another cushion. Please have a seat. While Paku spoke in a calm and pleasant manner, I knew he wasn't asking me, he was ordering me. I heard you were looking for me? Asked Paku. Yes, I nodded, cautiously. Why? Inquired Paku. Well, I want to learn. I want to be the best waterbender to have ever lived, I answered, trying to sell my case. Paku looked me with a very slight smile. Where are you from, Akira? Damn it, my one weakness. A background check. From the Partis clan, 50 miles away from here. Let's hope they don't send someone there. Then again, the tribe people said I was part of them. So who knows? Very well, Paku smiled, standing up his cushion. I shall teach you how to waterbend, but for me to do so, you would have to be part of the military. Is that something you are interested in? Do I get paid? I asked. Yes, answered Paku with slight amusement on his face. Can I leave any time I want to? I asked. Yes, though you have to let your superiors know 1 year in advance you are retiring, clarified Paku. All right, I'm in. Well, today was a roller coaster of emotions, but in the end, I had managed to do what I had come to do, finding a real master that would help me achieve the highs I was aiming for. Very well, said Paku as his amused smile vanished from sight, turning into a stern expression. I want to see you tomorrow at 4 a.m. in the training grounds. Is that clear? Yes, sir, I nodded, soon realizing I had no idea where that was. Sir, I have no idea where that is. I added. Then good luck, and just to be clear, I will punish you if you arrive late, Paku added with a frightening look. Roger that, I smiled, as I mentally added a new thing to do in my head, find the damn training ground, or face the unknown consequences. It took me 8 hours to find the damn training yard. I hate this city, but at least now I would know where to go, but like every world, once an enemy is defeated a new one arises, and mine was, waking up early, without an alarm clock. How was your day? Inquired Sakura, as she served me a big plate of food for dinner. You seem tense. Well, I did find Paku. And I got into his class. I guess. But I have to wake up at 4 a.m., and well, I suck at waking up early. I answered with a sigh. Well, I could wake you up, if that helps, offered Sakura with a smile. I close my shift every day around 3, so it is right around my schedule. I hugged Sakura, as I said, you are an angel, and to think I once thought the name Sakura was cursed. PFFF hardly, but thanks, Sakura chuckled. Chapter 8, 4 months later. My training with Paku proved to be difficult. He didn't accept anything but perfection in every aspect, from hand-to-hand combat to basic fighting style, saying that I relied a little too much on my ice bending and that at times water alone could produce, if not the same results, something vastly more devastating. He was right. Water pressure was, if controlled, able to cut through almost anything, but for me, ice was easier to form and mold to my liking, from blades to spears, even spikes. Ice was a simpler concept for me to accept and utilize. Nonetheless, Paku was my master and I had to obey him. He knew much more than me in this ancient art. Other than that, I have come to notice water bending is not that hard, at least perhaps for me. I don't need Paku to explain the moves more than once, it just comes naturally. It was almost as if I had been born with this power. I was so confident in my talent that I had a feeling I would best most soldiers within the northern water in months. Blood bending, on the other hand, I was having problems with it. Every full moon I would try to feel it, but I just couldn't find the connection. Perhaps I needed to be more in sync with the element before moving into more advanced techniques. You never cease to amaze me, Paku commented. Thanks, I bowed respectfully. Talent like yours is not a common thing. Paku smiled before his face turned into a deep frown. Don't let talent blind you. Talent can only take you so far. I won't, I nodded. Good, now, tomorrow, come early, Paku ordered as he calmly walked towards the next bender to correct their form or movement. Oh, yeah, jealousy was a thing for me now. People hated me here. Apparently, Paku does not give compliments often. In fact, some of the guards say he just simply hates to give any, but, with me, every now and then, he would praise me for my hard work. Well, time to go home and take a bath, I muttered, as I walked out of the class, having no reason to stay. My literal shift had ended 2 hours ago. As I walked home, I found myself lost in the city. Somehow I had taken a wrong turn, which is weird. I haven't done that, ever. Push. Pull voices, soft voices echoed in my head, like tears falling into a well, making a pleasant sound that guided further into the city. I was deeply confused as to what was pulling me towards the city. It was an intoxicating feeling of euphoria, almost primal. My body craved to know. I wanted to know. This is crazy, I muttered as I continued to follow the voices that were probably only in my head. Push. Pull. The more I walked, the clearer the voices became. The closer I got to the source of the sound, the more I felt like the waves of the sea were pushing me. The royal palace? Why? Push. Pull. Once again the voices echoed, and I knew they were coming from the palace. 2 words, 2 basics and normally mundane words, and yet, right now, they were so vexing that it hurt. I will definitely end up in jail. I sighed as I climbed the wall to the palace, making sure not to make any noises. The last thing I wanted was the fucking chief of the city labeling my ass as a public enemy. Looking over the wall, I noticed that the guard keeping and I was asleep. No wonder, this city was so easy to raid in the TV show, I muttered as I jumped to the other side, landing as silently as a cat, and my friends thought my gymnastics classes were a waste, huh? Joke's on them. Push. Pull, goddammit, I'm coming, stop, wait, is this a new way of teasing? I kinda feel violated now. Anyhow, I still had to keep my guard up, in case one of the patrols around the castle appeared. And right, I was to be careful, the place was infested with guards, though the majority was sleeping. Seriously, where is their supervisor? No. Akira, just take the luck the universe is giving you. Push. Pull, I know. I muttered, stopping mid-sentence. Now I knew where I was, in the spirit oasis. I risked my life and freedom for 2 overglorified rolls of sushi. I whispered. They are our guides. The voice of a little girl said, with a timid expression. She was wearing a very expensive dress, and her hair was white. Her complexion showed she was around 9 to 10 years old, maybe 11. Hi, please don't call your dad, I muttered with a weak smile. I won't. You smiled. I know you came here because you heard them. I always hear them. They are always dancing, pulling and pushing the waves of the sea, entangled in a dance of balance. Isn't that beautiful? I get why you can hear them, but me? I inquired, mostly to myself. I don't know, maybe Paku would know? You offered. I very much appreciate my life, so no thank you, I chuckled, making you chuckle as well. Maybe I can arrange for my father to bring you here. We are almost the same age. He will think I want a playdate. You offered, and she was right, it could work. I was almost 14, and she was probably 11. I was still of an age where playing was not seen as stupid. That would be awesome. I smiled, nodding. Great, so what is your name, and where do you live? You asked, trying to hide her excitement. I live in a hotel near the leather distribution district, and my name is Akira. I smiled, still not completely in love with my name. Perhaps that would change in the future, or perhaps I would change my name. Aizen and Poseidon seemed like awesome options. I just wish I remembered my real name. Without it, all of this feels like playing pretend. See you soon, Akira. If you want to stay longer, get in the tree. The guards never approach the spirits too much, you said, as she ran back to her room. Happy? Poor girl must have 0 friends. Push. Pull, yes. I know, you push, she pulls. I muttered as I climbed the tree, and while I sounded tired of them, repetitive routine. I was actually hypnotized by their dance. It was unique. Chapter 9. Since that fateful day, when the voices of the spirits reached me and pulled me into their zone, I have gone to the spirit oasis every day. It was relaxing and educational. Seeing them taught me more about the nature of waterbending. I had to know when to push and when to pull. Basically, it meant that I had to go with the flow of the battle, using my enemy's own strength against them. It also meant that I didn't have to force the water to obey me. I had to merely guide the water to help, like the wind guides the tides. I just had to be more in tune with the element. Now, this was easier said than done. Humans are by default beings that like to dominate, beings that like to control, some more than others, and to just let go of something so primal, it's hard. Meaning I was having a hard time with it. But the results were worth it. For the few times I was one with the water, my bending was exponentially better. It was outstanding. You have improved a lot this past few days, Paku acknowledged. Very impressive. I have a good master. The last thing I wanted Paku to know was that I had been sneaking into the royal castle the last few weeks. Fuck no. Flattery. Have you done anything? Paku inquired. No, I answered. Very well, keep your secrets. Paku sighed. Oh, I forgot, the chief asked for you. Something about a playdate with the princess, he added. Really? Time to play dumb. Yes, Paku nodded. Your playdate starts in 2 hours, so finish your training. I didn't say yes. Not that I was going to say no, but still. It was nice to know I had an option. Unfortunately for you, you are part of the military of this tribe, meaning the chief can order you around, meaning this is not an invitation, is an order to play with his daughter, Paku said with something reminiscent of a smile on his face. The joys of being part of the army. Oh yeah, I forgot. I signed a contract with them. For the duration of my training I am part of their army. Oh, well, haha, Then I suppose I better get there in time. A piece of advice: make sure to make the little princess happy. The chief is overprotective of the little princess, and well, you can see where this is going," Paku warned as he walked away. "Don't worry, I will do my best," I nodded, wondering if befriending you was a good idea. Northern Water Tribe Palace, for the first time in weeks. I was in the Northern Water Tribe Palace. Legally, I dare say it looked better when I wasn't avoiding the guards and stuff. "Welcome to my home, Akira." Chief Arnook greeted me with a plain expression. "My daughter specifically requested your presence here. Now my question is why," he added with a frown. "Well, let's see, what lie do I use?" "Ha! I know! I saw her one day, and said hi, and she said hi back." I smiled. "She asked my name and here we are." Chief Arnook hummed seemingly deep in thought. "I see. Well, have a good time." He then looked at me. "Make sure to treat her with the utmost respect. She is your princess, remember that." Huh, odd, that instead of being threatening was funny. Perhaps I'm stronger than him already, meaning he can't intimidate me. "Akira." You greeted me with a hug and a vibrant smile, as if we knew each other more than one day. This man will start questioning shit, ain't he? "So, one day?" Chief Arnook inquired. "There it is." "Yes," I nodded. "Let's go to the Spirit Oasis," you offered, pulling me by the shirt like a rag doll. She was surprisingly strong for an 11-year-old girl. "Remember to not disturb the spirits." Arnook smiled as his daughter dragged me across the castle. Spirit Oasis, that was close. You muttered what? I asked as I cleaned my pants from the dirt they had accumulated during my brief time as a broom. Daddy, he was about to ask too many questions. I forgot today was supposed to be the second day we met. You sighed. "Oh yeah, that," I chuckled. "Well, it all ended well." "Yeah," you smiled. Push-pull, they don't get tired of repeating the same thing, is truly impressive. Every day, they would do and say the same. "Well, only when you are near." You shook her head. "They are usually quiet, or say other stuff." "I think it's because they want you to learn something, so they wanted me to learn something. I suppose that makes more sense." I nodded. "So, have you learned something?" You asked with excitement. "Waterbending seems so cool. Too bad I can't do it." If we found one massive tiger or lion turtle, not exactly sure it would be possible. Then again, she was half spirit. Perhaps she already could, but never had the chance. Have you tried? No. You looked at me as if I was crazy. Just saying, you are partly spirit, so who knows? I added. How did you? You questioned. I have been quite a while in this oasis. I gathered a thing or two about them and you, and how you got the connection, I answered, lying like a beast. I was getting better at it. Oh. I see, so you think I can waterbend because of it? You asked with a hint of excitement. I'm not sure. But in theory it should be possible. You have a part of one of the spirits that control the water around the world. I answered, it should in theory be possible. You are right, it should be possible. You said with determination. That's the spirit, I chuckled as her reaction and my clever pun. And you will be my teacher. You smiled. Say what now? Hold on your horses. I am still learning. Paku would prove to be better at teaching than me. Why in the hell would she pick me when she had thousands of other options? Well, I want you. You are learning from Paku and the spirits, so if someone can teach me it is you, you said with determination. Besides, this way I can keep it a secret from Daddy. Well, I don't have much of an option. Not only I ignited her desire to learn, but she was my only legal access to the Spirit Oasis. Very well, but it will be once a week, so that I can train 2 times a week, and I'll tell Daddy I had the most fun ever. Oh ho ho ho, this little girl was blackmailing me. I like this version of her. Too bad they didn't show her more manipulative side on the show. It would have been fun seeing Sokka dealing with it. Very well, but I picked the days, I chuckled. Deal! You hugged me. It seems that I now have a student of my own. What an interesting situation. Now I wonder if she will truly learn how to waterbend. In theory she should be able. She is part spirit, and that part is one of the two spirits that control the moon. So by all means she should be able to do so. Poor Zhao, if she learns how to bend, things are getting interesting. Chapter 10. 1 year later, after 1 year, my training was complete. Paku himself gave me the title of Master, the youngest master of this generation. Nice title, to be honest. I had skipped many years of traditional training, especially since the spirits were somewhat helping me. Of course, I still had yet to make all the advances I wanted in the arts of waterbending. Bloodbending kept proving to be difficult for me, and even after a year and a half of training, I had yet to make any advances on the forbidden art. Though I had made other advances that, while not as powerful, were very much useful, among them water sense. This skill enables me to detect the vibrations in the particles of water around me, helping me to perceive objects, people, and other aspects of their environment, essentially acting as sonar, but through all the water in the atmosphere. Basically, this skill was inspired in Toph, and boy, it had proven to be helpful, because unlike Earth, water was everywhere, meaning I was able to see without seeing so much more. My ice-bending powers had also increased in power exponentially, as I was now able to freeze to the death by touching them, freezing all the water inside their bodies and dropping their temperature to absolute zero. This of course was only possible thanks to my water sense, that helped me locate all the water particles inside a human body. Though this brought up the question of how in the hell wasn't I able to bloodbend when I was able to feel all the water inside a person. Maybe it was a mental block I had on the art itself. As for my healing abilities, they had stagnated a lot, with Paku not allowing me to, as he said, waste time with such things, meaning I was far behind on my healing abilities compared to the rest of my arsenal. You are now officially a master. I am proud of you, Paku said with his signature emotionless face. The youngest of this generation. Am I the youngest overall? I inquired. No, but those that graduated younger than you had instruction since they were toddlers. You could say you were the first one to complete their training in a year and a half, Paku answered. I see, I nodded. The chief wants to hire you as part of the royal guard, Paku informed me with a somewhat proud tone. He is impressed by your talent and your relationship with the young princess. You, my one friend here besides dear old Sakura. I understand. I might accept, but I don't like the idea of being a guard, I shrugged. It's a great honor. You are basically skipping hundreds of ranks, Paku scolded. So those guards in the castle are royal guards? I inquired. For me they didn't seem impressive at all. No, they are just guards. The royal guard is special, only beneath the generals and the chief, Paku clarified. I once was one, but I am now a general. And what does being a royal guard entitles? I asked with curiosity. Well, you are for now part of the elite force that is tasked with the important mission of keeping the royal family alive, Paku answered. You would also be the first line of defense in case anything happens. How many royal guards are they right now? It all seemed cool and all, but something was off. For example, where was the royal guard when Zhao attacked? Perhaps they disbanded. One, Paku answered with a sigh. The chief disbanded the last members a decade ago, but you seem to have changed his decision, so I would be the only one. I asked with a chuckle. For now, yes. I suppose that would give you the title of the Royal Guard Captain? Paku chuckled, much to my surprise. 2 promotions in 1 day. I dare say you are breaking records by the second. Very funny, but that seems to be a lot of work for a single human being, I sighed. Your salary would multiply by a lot, Paku said. Take it as an opportunity. I know you want to travel the world. This way, you get to save money to do so. Well, all right, I nodded. Having extra money was not bad, and I would get to have a title to flex around. It was a win-win situation for everyone. Northern Water Palace, I am overjoyed that you have accepted my proposal, Chief Arnook said with a smile. I arched an eyebrow, wondering what had made him so happy. Well, Master Paku can be very persuasive when he wants to be. I can, Paku smiled. Jesus, seeing him showing emotions was terrifying. Well, to be honest, I was reluctant to create the Royal Guard again, but after what you did with you, well, I knew what I had to do, Chief Arnook smiled. After what I did with you? Oh no! Sorry. You mumbled an apology at me. You told them. I half shouted. To think you had a student all this time, in secret, and that it was the princess. I can't say I approve, Paka smirked. God, stop. Don't smile. While it was our protocol, you helped us realize my sweet little moon had talent for waterbending, something that you helped bring forth. Chief Arnook smiled. Do you accept being part of the Royal Guard as its captain, for however long you wish to stay in it? Well, let's list the cons and pros. For pros, I will get an immensely bigger salary, I get to be with the spirits almost 24/7, and I get to train you without sneaking around. For the cons, well, they will probably expect things from me. Fuck it, I'm in. Yes, I accept. Very good. Chief Arnook smiled with joy. I will get the paperwork done. Welcome aboard. If I might add something, Paku interrupted, I think it is best if the training of the young lady is continued by Master Yagoda. She's a master in the healing arts, while Akira is better suited for teaching combat. You misogynistic pig. I think I'm doing a great job, I said through gritted teeth. Fighting is not for a lady, Paku replied with a stern look. I want to keep training with Akira, the 12-year-old girl said with an angry face. I'll discuss this later with my wife, as Paku says fighting is not for a lady. Chief Arnook sighed, as he looked at his daughter, and that is final. Yes, Daddy, you said, clenching her little fists. Very well, I nodded, though I knew very well I had broken many laws up until today. Teaching her was just going to be a new one, and besides, with her learning how to heal, I would be able to learn by her how to do so better. It was actually better for me. Now, go and rest. We will have your things here by tomorrow morning, Chief Arnook informed me. As you wish, I nodded. It seemed today was my last day with Sakura. I wonder how Crowley is gonna react. He loves Sakura. Or her food. I can't tell. Chapter 11, Life as part of the Royal Guard was, as expected, absolutely boring. My duties were to command the guards, and keep an eye for the royal family, mostly you. I challenge you to a duel. A guy around my age shouted. I had no idea who he was. You are? I sighed, knowing all too well what was this all about. My new title. Some people were trying to show they were superior to me and more qualified, and well, I had graciously kicked their asses to prove I am probably the strongest member of the tribe, and while Paku was stronger than me in conventional bending, I was league about him in, well, the unconventional areas of my bending. I am the Great Han. Oh, that guy. All right, let's fight. I sighed in a bleed tone. Here I go. Water slap, with a yawn, and a soft movement of my hand, a big water hand protruded from the ground, slapping Han to the ground like a mosquito. I won. What a surprise. Is he dead? Someone in the audience asked. No, idiots are hard to kill, I chuckled. Was that necessary? You inquired as she approached me. With him? Absolutely. Besides, only a crushing defeat stops them, I answered with a shrug. I suppose, you sighed. So, how was the healing class? I asked, as I started to escort the young princess back to the castle, leaving the comatose Han 10 meters on the ground. Is good. I think it suits me, you answered with uncertainty. Is that your opinion? Or that of the tribe? I asked. A bit of both. While I love what you teach me, I don't think I have the heart to hurt anybody, so healing is better, you sighed, and she was right. She was too good of a person to harm someone. You still need to learn how to defend yourself, otherwise, bad things can happen. I wasn't going to be around the tribe forever. One day she would have to defend herself. Isn't that why I have you? You smiled. I won't be around forever, I answered, not wanting her to make illusions of me staying. One day I will go out and explore the world, and that day, you'll be without me. Maybe I can come with you. You muttered, hiding her face under her white hair. Well, that was unexpected. I don't see why not. I could use a good healer. You don't mind that and the tribe chasing you? You asked in shock. I'll be honest with you, besides Paku, there isn't anyone here strong enough to even make me try. I chuckled, and besides, the only crime here would be their ignorance, or their refusal to let you go. I think I was too rash to ask you that, you sighed. Then stay. I'm fine with either option, I smiled, and for some reason this made her mad. So you don't care if I go or not, good to know. You hissed, walking fast with the intention of leaving me behind. I don't understand that girls sometimes. Why are you even mad though? I just said I would respect your decision, and besides we were talking hypothetical cases. One of the best parts of not having almost anything to do is that you can sneak into the healer's classroom at night to steal some of their scrolls. Paku. F to K with you. I will learn how to heal, maybe I can improve the healing. I muttered as I checked for every scroll, making sure I had the copies for all of them. Many in the future will wonder how I got to be strong enough to stomp the avatar in power. Well, this will be listed among the list of why. I was going to break down what it meant to be a waterbender, making new things, new styles. I was going to be a legend among waterbenders. Is someone there? I was an amazing waterbender, but apparently I was a terrible thief, which was odd considering I had been sneaking for months to the castle. Anywho. Time to escape. Before the voice could even repeat the question, I jumped out of the window and flew to the ceiling of the house. One of the many tricks I had learned, you see, to fly with water is very easy. All you need is to put some water in all the equilibrium points of the body, I mean the most important ones, feet, hands, hips, and neck, and of course, waterbend that water, to fly around. The trick is to bend the water with the mind alone. That took some time. I could have sworn I heard someone say, "Oh shit, that was close, I better get out." I sighed, as I flew away. FYI, water healing is way more complicated than traditional bending. I mean, holy shit. The precision needed to use it. I mean properly is stupid. How can Paka think this shit is easy? Does he only think that because the healers are all women? So, you stole all the scrolls? You asked with an annoyed expression. Asterisk caw? Asterisk Crowley cawed, trying to be part of the conversation. Knowledge. I stole knowledge, and all the scrolls I took are copies, so, at least. I cost the school, like 500 silver, I shrugged. Besides, I will donate the money. I suppose if you donate the money it will cost to get those back, is not really a crime, right? You sighed. Don't worry. I will give them more than enough money to replace these scrolls, and buy something new, I reassured her. To think our royal guard captain would be a criminal, you chuckled. Only a criminal mastermind like me can't stop other criminals, I joined in the joke. I suppose, you laughed. So, can I read the scrolls? I want others to think I'm a genius at this. I looked at her, and with a smile, I said, "Welcome to the dark side," doing my best to imitate Palpatine's voice. Okay? You said, getting a scroll. Paka POV, today, a very odd and specific crime had been committed during the night. Someone had stolen a copy for each scroll in the arts of healing. I don't know why someone would steal those. Yugoda muttered. I didn't know why, but I had a feeling I knew who did it. Whoever it was, it wanted to learn water healing really badly. A soldier added. To learn, but this was borderline stupid, but one thing was for sure. I was going to discipline that boy, the hard way. It was Akira, wasn't it? Let me know how much it will cost to replace them. I knew he wanted to learn, but this was borderline stupid, but one thing was for sure. I was going to discipline that boy, the hard way. Chapter 12. Being a guard was boring, incredibly dull. I did nothing to fight nothing in general, but at least I was learning a lot, and making a lot of money. Let's put a quote on learning how healing was very hard. You have to be very, very precise with your movements and water control, but the most important part, one that you always have to take into account, is the energy you put on the water you are going to use to heal. It was like math all over again. Akira, Paka greeted, with an angry face, can I have a word with you? I eyed the old man. Before taking a deep breath, he figured out my little crime and was about to try and take me to prison. Sure, I nodded reluctantly. Some scrolls have been going missing. Do you have anything to do with that? Paku asked, but his tone hinted he was blaming me. And why would I steal some scrolls? I shot back, with a glare. Is this how you pay me? Paku spat in anger. I taught you. And this is how you say thanks? It seems you already have your answer. I chuckled bitterly, but I couldn't care less. You didn't do me a favor, after all. You expected something in return. I spat. So you admit it? Paku asked, narrowing his eyes at me. Do you really care for my answer? I laughed bitterly. No, Paku answered, sending a wave of water at me to hinder me, that I blocked with a dome of water of my own around me. A criminal can't be part of the royal guard. You forbid me from learning. I think the real criminal here is you, I counter, as I proceeded to shot razor-sharp discs at the old man, that simply decided to redirect them, and your reaction is to fight. Poetic, isn't it? I chuckled bitterly. You went against my orders, to learn something you don't need. Paku stated as he melted the ice beneath my feet and intended to freeze me. You stole. I did, I nodded, freezing the ground beneath me, simply because I had no other choice. I asked you 1,000 times. I sighed. It doesn't matter, anyway, does it? No, Paku answered. You can't beat me, I stated, much to his shock. If this battle were to continue in the traditional way, yes, you would win, but that is not going to happen. I was confident my skills were enough to take on the orthodox old man. I was a proud outbox thinker. Overconfidence is unbecoming of a warrior, Paku calmly stated. It is, I nodded, as I started to melt the ice around us, but I'm not the one suffering from that dilemma. By this point the ice I had started to melt was now a deep and thick mist that covered the area. You are. It will take more than blinding me to win, Paku scoffed. Perhaps, I hummed, as I slowly started to cover my legs, arms and neck with water. Who knows, huh? Paku muttered, startled, noticing that the mist just continued to get thicker and thicker. How can you fight if you can't see? He who can only strike what he sees is a second-rate warrior, I chuckled. Don't underestimate me, I commented as I used my water sense to locate him, while I created a water whip to attack him. Paku dodged the first attack by a few inches, but the second attack connected, sending him flying a few meters back. He retaliated, pushing the mist off the area, but that allowed me to trap his feet, freezing him on the ground. Paku grumbled. How about this? I smiled as I started to gather all the water around us, creating hundreds of icicles. Can you dodge? Or do you submit? If you think I am defeated. You are wrong, child, Paku growled, with eyes devoid of emotion. Stop! The voice of Chief Arnook boomed around us, stopping Paku and me right in our tracks. Chief Arnook, Paku bowed. Chief, I greeted him absently. Can someone explain to me? Why were you two fighting to the death? The chief growled, demanding an answer. The current head of the Royal Guard is a criminal, Paku answered. He stole the scrolls from the Healing Academy, and he must be prosecuted for his crimes. Is that true? Chief Arnook inquired as he looked at me. Yes, I nodded. He forbade me from learning the arts of healing, and I took upon myself to fix that. A warrior then can't save a life is nothing but a weapon, and I am not a weapon. You could have asked the head of the healing department for the scrolls, the chief stated. Once he knew of my interests, he forced everyone not to give me the knowledge I desired. I chuckled bitterly. Pathetic. My last bit made Paku glare at me. I understand. The chief sighed, but a crime is a crime, regardless of the reason. Though you had a good reason, I started to laugh. Oh, well. I quit. I smiled at them. Take the royal position and shove it up Paku's ass. I'm done with everyone here. I got what I wanted. I'll take my leave. I haven't decided if you will receive punishment or not, the chief argued. Like I said, I'm done, regardless of your decision. I have outgrown this place, I stated once again, with a bored expression. I didn't want to be in the military anyway. Too many rules for my liking, I chuckled. Now, is up to you if I leave as a criminal or a friend. The chief looked at me, and Paku, fear building up his eyes. I will allow you to learn anything you desire and will modify your rank to suit your needs, but don't leave. He was desperate. Now that is something I didn't expect to see, and apparently Paku himself was confused why? I asked. Many reasons. The chief sighed. You are the first real friend you has. You are a prodigy in the arts of waterbending, and most importantly, you were called by the spirits. The last part shocked me. How in the hell did he know? You. Or did you really think our guards are that bad? I just told them to let you pass. The chief chuckled. If the spirits wanted you here, it must be for a reason. So please, don't leave. I looked at the man that had until now been nothing but a good person to me and sighed. Very well, but I want to out of Paku's control, meaning he can't boss me around, and I want to be able to reject orders, meaning if I see something is stupid, I am not forced to obey. Deal. The chief nodded. If that's what you want. I won't complain, Paku said with a sigh, all signs of anger gone. I look forward to seeing what the spirits see in you. Chapter 13. Needless to say, my relationship with Paku went from friendly to downright enemies after our fight. He respected the chief orders but hated the idea of me breaking the rules and that I was out of his control. With the chief being technically the only one capable of ordering me, and even that capability was questionable, for as of now I was like a freelancer, making money but with no obligation to them whatsoever. You was angry at me for a while, which didn't bother me at all, as I was focusing the majority of my time on my training, bloodbending and healing bending. With healing bending slowly but surely getting better. The trick was meditating more, being more in touch with my spiritual side, quite cliché but hey, it worked. As for bloodbending, well, I'm happy to see it finally happened. I was officially a bloodbender, but I was so far only able to use it during the full moon, and I was nowhere near a level of skill where I could use it in a fight. But hey, I managed to force an ice rat to submission, and while my progress during these last months has been anything but amazing, I was happy. Oh great, my water sense is tingling. Fuck me sideways, the old bastard is coming. Akira, Paku greeted, as he entered the spirit oasis. Damn it! Leave, I said with my eyes closed. This old bastard was not going to stop my training. I am free to roam the palace, Paku said with an amused tone. Is there a purpose for this unpleasant visit? I asked with a tired groan. I came here to demand a duel, Paku stated, while glaring at me. 3 months ago, the chief saved you, and I can't move on until I have personally punished you. Well, this was perfect. Let's go. I jumped out of my spot. I will enjoy kicking your ass. I smirked. Overconfident. Such a shame. You had some much talent, Paku sighed. Too much talk from someone that belongs in a museum, I chuckled bitterly. Our duel was an event for the tribe, the oldest prodigy against the youngest prodigy, a battle between generations. It was such an event that some of the benders around had built us an arena once they knew we were fighting, and people was selling food and shit. We even had someone as the referee, aka the chief, who had reluctantly accepted. After all, he didn't want us to fight. The chief's voice boomed out into the audience, giving us the green lights. Let the battle begin. The chief had barely finished his sentence when Paku instantly shot a barrage of water bellied at me. With a quick sigh at the old man, I created a thick wall of ice, which allowed me to block the attacks, as I parried the old master water whip that circled my walls with one of my own. I continued to block the old master's next 2 blows as well by redirecting the water he was launching at me, before attempting to counter with what I call an ice uppercut that makes an ice spike protrude from the ground at my target's location. This move ultimately failed when the bald decrepit bastard leaped backwards, avoiding my attack by a few inches. Deciding it was time to start using my own style instead of the conventional style of bending, I exhaled as I stared at the old man with a wide smile. Paku glared at me as he quickly continued his assault, failing to even land one of the shots close, showing why water sensing is my favorite ability, helping me to predict his moves before he even used them. Do you need a nap? I can stop if you want, I asked as I casually continued to dodge. This comment threw Paku off balance, with slight rage filling his core. I will teach you to respect your elders. Respect is earned. I smiled bitterly at him as I started to attack him with an assault of ice spikes. Paku while graciously countering. It was clear he was having a hard time, so he opted to shake the entire arena with a rather unique attack that would have been a real nice move to end me if I had fought him by his rules. Seeing the attack was undodgeable in such a finite space, I opted to fly out of the way. Paku of course was taken aback by this skill which I had used to dodge his finishing move. "Oh, yeah. I can fly," I winked at everyone at the arena, just to spite Paku. The best part was, none of them knew how I was doing it. You see, during these last few months I had improved my technique. Instead of using a lot of water, I would now freeze the soles of my shoes, my belt, my gloves and collar to flight, bending the ice, and making this technique for the naked eye a mystery. With a smirk I snapped my fingers, gathering all the water in the air, creating hundreds of projectiles, and without wasting any more time I was back on the offensive with a barrage of powerful ice bullets, each one being even bigger than the last, raining on him by the hundreds. The old man was quickly becoming overwhelmed by the raw force on my attacks, and had begun to solely focus on his defense. Sadly for him, this was never going to end, for my bullets were nearly limitless, making his decision under the onslaught of incoming bullets a bad one. "You know," I said with a smirk, "I owe some of this power to you." "A decision I am coming to regret," Paku managed to reply, gasping for air as he struggled to move with a bleeding leg. "Too late for it though," I smiled. As I continued with my deadly rain, Paku was at this point out of breath and could hardly attack at all. I knew what the old man was trying to do now. He wanted to fight an opening, and I was going to exploit that, and with that in mind, I intentionally left my backside wide open. And the old dog, in his desperation, took the bait, and instead of managing to deliver an attack, he was sent flying to the walls of the arena as I planted a huge water fist to the twice as big as his body to his left side. In the shattered ice that once was a wall, the old master lay defeated, gasping for air, his eyes meeting mine in anger and another emotion I couldn't quite pick just before falling unconscious, declaring me the winner. "I hope this is the end of all this," I sighed, flying down to the arena. The audience was mute with how things had gone. I had defeated what they thought to be the best water-bending master of all ice. And I had done it with style. That kid is a monster. Yes, yes I am. Chapter 14. 3 years later. It has been 3 years since my little duel with my old master, where I had proved I reigned supreme above him. After that fateful day I had gained a title that, well, I had mixed feelings about it. The Demon of the North, this very unique and cool title made everyone but a few individuals in the tribe fear me. They couldn't comprehend how I was able to beat Paku, a master with decades of experience. What they failed to see was that Paku was decades out of his prime, and I was a bit more creative when it came to fighting. I'm not gonna lie, the fear they had was both useful and hilarious for me, giving me a lot of benefits. For one, no one had the balls to bother me during training, besides Sakura, you, Crowley, and the chief, of course. But they were the only ones that knew. I wasn't really a monster per se. I was more of a tamed animal, if you would, that if poked too much will snap, but if left alone, will leave you be. But besides them, everyone avoided me like the plague, and boy, how I loved that. Though my mind would usually wonder, why was I still here? It had been years since I mastered the arts of healing, and by this point my bloodbending was combat ready, so, why was I staying here? What was holding me back? "You know the chief will ask you to marry you, right?" Sakura asked as she entered my room. "I don't think so." I rolled my eyes. If I remembered correctly, she was supposed to be engaged to. God, what was his name? Alright, I'm just gonna call him Asshole. She was supposed to be engaged to Mr. Asshole. "Akira, you are the strongest warrior in the tribe, by a long shot. People want you to stay, and a marriage could potentially ensure that." Sakura sighed. "You mean the people that run away from me like I'm the plague?" I laughed. "What's next? Paku wants to marry me?" I joked, but my own joke ended up hurting my very soul, with images of Paku in a wedding dress. Scratch that. "I need bleach now. They fear you." "Yes," Sakura nodded, ignoring my joke, putting her hand softly on my back. "But they also know you would die for them. When in the hell did I ever, and I mean ever, give that impression? I would die for no one woman. Well, then this entire tribe needs some help reading people. Play it tough, but I know you are a softie under all that macho attitude, Sakura smirked. Maybe, I chuckled while rolling my eyes at her, but I still believe the chief will choose someone else. Wanna bet? Sakura grinned. I chuckled. Very well, let's do this. I never say no to an easy bet. I want you to marry my daughter, the chief stated with a wide smile. Damn it! Ha! The booming laugh of Sakura among the people present broke the sound barrier, invading my ears. Damn it! I owe that woman a lot of money now, Chief. I'm sure you have better options to offer your daughter, like one of the clan kids? You gave me an offended look, as if my comment had hurt her somehow. You are the best this tribe has to offer, the chief laughed. I am an orphan with a made-up name, and no lands or money to give. I rolled my eyes at him. So, yeah. You are rich, and a respected member of the water tribe, the chief refuted. All right, the idiot really wants me to marry you, so time to use my secret weapon. If you accept, by all means, you as my escape to this marriage thing. Why? Well, she hated the idea of marrying someone without knowing them. I don't really want to marry, father, you answered. I would like to marry by love, and while I love Akira, he is like a big brother to me. I hear you, sis. I winked at her. But... The chief started to panic. Why was he panicking though? This man was weird. Then, wait no longer, for I the Great, the annoying asshole with the enormous ego had appeared once again, and unfortunately for him, I had developed an instinct where if I was near one, I would unconsciously attack said asshole, and poor idiot, he didn't even see the water punch, and now he is falling hundreds of meters into the air. I never get tired of that, you giggled. Chief, is this about me staying? I asked. Well, partly. I mean, I thought you guys loved each other, the chief sighed. I won't be leaving anytime soon. I sighed. If you promise to stop bothering you with the betrothal thing, she will meet the man of her dreams one day, Sokka, I suppose. Fine, the chief nodded in a deflated state. You still owe me some money. Sakura shouted at me. I know. After today's ordeal, I decided to continue practicing the one thing I still wasn't a master at, bloodbending. Yeah, embarrassing, but I have no material to learn from. I'm practically building the art from scratch. Besides, I'm not that bad. I'm able to use completely fine during the full moon. I just need to keep honing my skills with it to the point where I can use it every day. Time to meditate, but before I could even begin my meditation, something shook like a tsunami. My spirit was now trembling, leaving me wondering, what in the world was that? The spirits in the oasis felt it too, this wave of energy, this feeling. There was no doubt. So you finally woke up. Aang, I had no doubts. This wave I had felt was the Avatar waking up. There was no other human being capable of releasing such a wave of spiritual energy. It had to be him, and I couldn't lie. I was excited, because for some bizarre reason, I wanted to best the Avatar in the Avatar state, one-on-one, for elements versus one. Was I going to lose? Probably. I wasn't sure. Aang in the Avatar state was downright terrifying, not like the sad excuse for Avatar state Korra has been, but Aang was a monster in that state, and that only made this quest more fun. All right. I laughed, deep down wondering since when I had become a battle-driven individual. Chapter 15, there was no doubt about it, that energy push I felt in the spirit realm was no other than Aang, and I couldn't hide it. I was excited at the prospect of kicking his ass. God, it seems I have turned into a battle-crazy bastard, but I don't care. You seem awfully happy, you commented. Is there any reason why? Maybe a girl? She inquired, wiggling her eyebrows at me. PFFF, I chuckled. Nope, I just think things will get interesting. All right, keep your secret girlfriend secret, you said with a teasing tone. As if I had the time to have a girlfriend. Right now, all I wanted to do was master bloodbending, and perhaps later I would have time for such things. I'll be leaving now, I said, walking out of the room, wondering if maybe it was best for me to go and look for Aang. I'm not exactly one to wait. Don't get mad, I was only teasing. You panicked at my sudden reaction. I'm not, I said. I just need to get back to my training, nothing bad, I added with a wink. Oh, okay, you flushed with embarrassment. Now, go and bother someone else, I chuckled. I have things to do. Is that how you treat your best friend/sister? You asked, with a wide smile. Yes, I nodded. I don't even know why I bother with you, you sighed. Just don't, I said, leaving the room once and for all. Training was nowadays my life. It wasn't anything fancy, but I enjoyed it. I had come to enjoy my life as it was now, and how could I not? I mean, I was still overjoyed with the fact I had a power, a freaking power. And I wanted to be a fucking beast with it. Every day it was a new experience for me. Every day I would learn something new about my powers, showing me how stupid the people of this world was. See, waterbending was more than a person throwing water at others, and yes, while that was the basics of it, it wasn't all. For example, metal bending is not really metal bending. To be precise, it would be earth bending, but on a larger scale. Now many would think, but how? Well, the answer is simple. The earth bender is not bending the metal, but the particles of earth within said metal. Reason why they can't bend 100% pure metal. It's impossible. That same rule applies to water bending, meaning as long as something had water on it, it was technically speaking bendable. Like for example, poison, or acid, making me the first person to use those two among others as weapons. And that was just the tip of the iceberg, and I, like the curious fucker I was, had gone deeper and deeper. My skills were so vast now that I doubted many could take me on, probably Iroh, but I'm not entirely sure. I never saw the old wise man fight. Things were good for me, and if I had to rate my skills, well, I suppose they would go like this. Waterbending, master ice bending, master healing bending, expert blood bending. This one was hard to judge. See, the side of blood bending that focused on hurting others was difficult for me, but the part used to boost my own physical skills. Well, I was quite good at it. Bloodbending was much more than the show ever showed. With the right mind, a bloodbender could be almost immortal. For example, if someone were to cut my wrists, I would be able to stop the bleeding like it was nothing. Eventually my wounds would heal by themselves, or I could help them with water healing, that, or I could make my blood hard, like steel, making my body hard to pierce. The possibilities with this beautiful art were endless, and the stupid of Katara had the art banned in the legend of Korra. I never understood why. Well, I did. In the wrong hands, this art was capable of killing anyone. But it didn't matter. As long as I got to learn the art, I was happy. Heart stabbed? It's okay. I can keep my blood pumping while I heal my heart. My neck? It doesn't matter. Of course I was not at that level yet, but I was close. I knew that much. Because for me, it was easier to bend my own blood. It was the blood of others where I struggled, at least until a full moon. But I couldn't help but imagine the possibilities once I finally climbed that wall I had found myself in. After all I had mastered with this unique power was the defensive part of it. Now the offensive part was much more enticing, like stopping the flow of blood to the brain or heart, bursting organs, boiling or freezing someone's blood. The possibilities were delightfully endless. I couldn't help but wonder, what were the limits of this beautiful art? It is either Gur-Han? Pan, I don't remember his name, anyway, initiating a water slap. Not again, I swear he comes every 6 months. That guy has a death wish, I sighed. He thinks if he defeats you, the chief will make him a general, and let him marry his daughter. A guard chuckled, but that won't happen, ever. You are? I asked with a chuckle. I'm Toko. Well, a pleasure to meet you, I smiled. We were on the same class, before you skipped like 8 grades, Toko chuckled. I never got to talk to you, he added with a sigh, and now everyone fears you will kill them if they talk to you. Wise, I smiled. Huh, I expected some kind of denial, but oh well, if I die by your hand, I will go down as a hero, Toko laughed, and here I decided I like the guy. I mean, you have to have balls to joke about shit like that with someone strong enough to crush you. You are crazy, I chuckled. No one survives Pack Hussein, Toko shrugged, making me laugh. Chapter 16. As I was about to take my leave from the training ground, an angry yell bursted out from the entrance, getting my undivided attention. "There you are," Han barked, pointing with the spear in his hand. This time he wasn't alone, his friends were with him, all of them with their weapons ready. "Didn't I bitch slap you like yesterday?" I inquired, with clear amusement, "or perhaps you really want to die?" I chuckled. I would be happy to oblige. The crowd he had brought in with him to back him up has now gone silent as they observed the sudden development with fear. "You are a coward," Han grinned, "hiding behind your bending. Without it, you are nothing." Oh, so he was trying to get me to duel him without bending. Cute, fight me like a man, no bending, and there it was. Haha, I love being right. No bending, I said as I pretended to think about his offer. How about, no? So it's true, Han laughed. Without your bending, you are just a weakling bitch. Bitch? Well, that was new. I have to be honest, I wasn't angry at Han. No, it's like getting angry with a cockroach for being a cockroach, but in this very moment I did wonder, did he really have a death wish? Because if he does, I'm not gonna say no, but I shouldn't say yes. "So, you really want to fight me without bending?" I chuckled. "If you think you can handle the beast," oh god, he refers to himself as the beast, "the battle hasn't begun and he has already damaged me." "Alright, if this will get you out of my back, fine," I sighed. I was confident I could deal with him. After all, I had trained in hand-to-hand combat. I wasn't an expert, but I was certainly better than him. "Then take this," Han shouted, running in a straight line. Awesome strategy. Taking a deep breath, I took a step to the side, dodging his sad attempt to attack, while I broke the spear in half, and with a quick jab knocked him out. Our duel lasted literally 5 seconds, maybe 6. Though being fair with him, he lasted 5 seconds more than he usually does. "So, you guys want to turn?" I smiled at them, lowering the temperature around. "Oh, and tell your friend that if he ever bothers me again, I will personally put him in a wheelchair." I was not, well, maybe. They all nodded, and as soon as I kicked their friend towards them, well, they ran. Wise, wow, that was sad. Sakura laughed as she entered the training ground. "Am I right to assume you kicked Hanzo's ass?" "Yep," I nodded, not bothering to correct the name she had used. "Boy, that never gets old." Sakura sighed. "It does." I sighed. "It does. While this sad repetitive event of my life had been fun the first 40 times, it got, like everything at one point, old. It was more of a chore than a practical joke now. And that made me sad. What's the point of crushing his ego if I can't truly enjoy it? "Well, it doesn't matter," Sakura said, rolling her eyes at me. "I wanted to invite you and you to eat at my inn. The chef has a new dish and I want you two to be the testers." I chuckled. "Is it safe to have the princess trying something that might or might not kill her?" "I mean, the chef is awesome, but sometimes new things can kill," I teased. "If push comes to shove, I'll just run away," Sakura shrugged. In the end, the new dish was actually pretty good. It was like soup, but different. I'm just bad at describing food, but it was awesome. You seemed to enjoy it, and so did Crowley, and well, I loved it. I couldn't help but sigh in anticipation of days like this. I knew Aang was coming. He would be here in a couple months, 2 to 3 months. For now, though, I will just enjoy this, before I set out to explore the world, with my new mission at hand, messing with the Fire Nation as much as possible. Did I want to kill Ozai? Maybe, but that was Aang's job. All I wanted for now was to learn from other bending styles like Iroh did, and become the #1 enemy of the First Nation for fun. It would be fun to see little Azula trying to kill me. Or Zuko trying to kill me. Make the both of them at the same time. You know what, scratch that. I do want to fight Ozai, but not to stop him, just to prove water is the best element. "Sir! We have intruders!" A guard shouted, and for a brief moment I wondered why was he addressing me, and then I remembered I was the royal guard. It's not my fault I don't actually have to do anything. I get paid to exist. "I'll be back," I said as I left the inn, not before asking, "Why are you two so calm? Don't you guys care?" I teased. Maybe for the guys fighting you, you offered with a smirk. Yes, I'm with little Y on that one, Sakura winked at me. Jesus, I can feel the love, I said leaving the inn, their laughs chasing me out UPOV, I was sad, angry, and frustrated. My best friend, the brother the spirits had given me, was going to leave any time soon, I knew that. I could see it in his eyes, that he was waiting for something, before leaving. And I didn't want him to leave. You know that even if he leaves he will come back, Sakura said. She was the one person I could trust with this matter. I know, but is it so bad for me to want him here? On the tribe forever? I sighed. No, but you know he isn't exactly happy here, Sakura said. Your father sees him as a weapon, Paka hates him. I think, and everyone else fears him or well, wants something from him. She took a pause. He beats people on a daily basis because they think his demise will bring them glory. It's hard. Besides us three, he has no one, no reason to stay. I knew she was right. I know. Yes, Crowley, I love you as well. I petted the needy raven that Akira had spoiled a lot. Chapter 17. Inner peace. While bending was a crucial part of the bending art, emotions were fuel to the power you could put out. But that only could take you so far. That was something Paku himself had taught me, a lesson I still held very close to me. Akira, that voice, it was unmistakable who it was, Paku, but what was he doing here? And why now? We need to talk, do we? I said bitterly. I know you don't like me, and to be honest, I don't like you either, Paku sighed, taking a seat beside me, but that doesn't mean you don't deserve an apology, he added, much to my surprise. Summarize, Paku. Summarize, I sighed in annoyance, though deep down I wanted him to continue. I was wrong to force my ways into you, Paku said. It was your choice, and I took it, and that led me to an embarrassing defeat, he added with a low chuckle. You were very out of touch with your inner spirit that fight, I chuckled, finding myself easing into the conversation. I have no doubts that if today we were to fight I would defeat you easily, but that day. I won because you were unstable, very unstable, something I had learned a year after our fight. We were pretty much evenly matched that day, but I was in control. Paku nodded. Anger is a path to self-destruction. Well, I have to go, I said, leaving the old master behind, not before asking, what brought this on? I know you are too proud for your own good, a good friend and a cup of tea, Paku answered. Well, wasn't that cryptic? Wait, a cup of tea? Iroh was here. Iroh POV, life was a wonder, a true adventure waiting for everyone to take their first step, creating a beautiful and unique path for everyone that dares to live it. Such a thing was not to be wasted with anger, hate, self-loathing. No, it was to be enjoyed with love, family, and a good cup of tea. Still meditating? Zhao asked in annoyance. Peace comes from within, Zhao. Do not seek it without. Poor Zhao, always so lost. Always so angry. Power corrupts those weak enough to allow such. No, that was wrong, because it is a man's own mind, not his enemy, money, or power, that lures him to the wrong path. Did you know where Zuko is? Zhao asked while glaring at me. You know he's a traitor, so give him up if you have him. Oh yes, my treacherous nephew, I said, shedding a fake tear. Unfortunately for me, no, I did know, but why would I ever answer such a question? This man needs more tea to let his brain breathe. Otherwise he will go brain dead. Very well, Zhao sighed, leaving my room. I wonder if my dear friend got my letter. It was one of life's true pleasures, helping others. And I was hopeful my advice helped clear the mind of any turmoil Paku was suffering. Aang POV, I was scared, but I couldn't let them know that. They all believe in me. They all believe in the Avatar. A title I never wanted, but one that only I can to bear. But all lies become dust one way or another. Like Gyatso would always say, there are three things that cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. Aang, are you okay? Katara asked. Her voice ever so sweet, so gentle. It was like the winds of spring caressing my spirit. Katara, stop asking him the same question, is driving me nuts. Sokka said in annoyance. Well, I for one care how he feels, Katara huffed, if only she knew how much her simply yet heartwarming words meant for me. I do too. But for the love of... ask him something else. Sokka grumbled, making me laugh a bit. Fine, so, how far are we from the Northern Water Nation? Katara inquired with a sigh. 3 weeks or so, I answered with a wide smile. Huh, I always thought flying would be faster, Sokka commented. Sokka, don't forget it's better to travel well than to arrive, I chuckled. We are safe and that's all that matters. I can agree with that, Katara nodded. Zuko POV, thanks to my uncle I had infiltrated Zhao's ship that was on its way to capture the Avatar, something I was planning to sabotage myself. No one was going to capture the Avatar except for me. I needed him to restore my honor, to regain my father's love, to come back home. I couldn't fail, this was my destiny. I was born to capture this fiend bringing glory to the Fire Nation. Oh strange guard, that voice, what was my uncle doing? He knows we need to avoid contact. I need your help. You see, I have 2 cups of tea and well, I need someone to drink the cup I won't be using. I am on duty, I hissed. Oh, well, I suppose I can always tell Zhao. He needs to know his ship has very unsubordinated soldiers. He was blackmailing me to drink tea with him. Tea! Fine, I'll go. I almost shouted. Oh, what a sudden change of heart. It must be the smell of my jasmine tea, Uncle Iroh stated proudly. I have been told a sip of it takes you on an adventure of flavor and self-discovery, sometimes. I just hate my uncle. Right this way, Uncle Iroh smiled, pushing the door open to a room, where a steaming smell of tea invaded my nose. Take a seat. Once he closed the door, I turned to him and hissed, you know I need to keep a low profile. This is my chance to get the Avatar. Only with the Avatar I will be saved. Zuko, you need to see beyond the lines. No one can save us, no one but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path to redemption. Uncle Iroh sighed sadly. Do you truly think that capturing the Avatar will bring you all that you want? It has to, I muttered. Well, enough of that, Uncle Iroh said, looking disappointed for a second. But why? Time for some nice and relaxing tea, to help you clear your mind. Zhao will notice. I'm the only guard you have invited. I still thought this was an awful idea. Nonsense. I already drank some tea with each member of the ship, including Zhao himself. Uncle Iroh laughed. Sharing tea is one of life's true delights. Smart. They can't track him with that. Very smart. Chapter 18. Today I was at a new bar. I had just found the bar was small but cozy, and here I was having a nice relaxing day off. Behind the counter, Pico, a small well-dressed man with a tiny mustache, was flipping drinks like a beast. Alcohol bending? Here you go. Pico grinned while putting a drink in front of me. I looked at the man and then to the drink I hadn't ordered in puzzlement. What is this? This is my thanks for bringing me clients, Pico winked. Having the demon of the north in my bar brings hundreds just to see you. Okay, I said, a bit uncertain, but a free drink is a free drink. Is one of my best drinks. It is called Northern Paradise, Pico stated proudly. Enjoy, he added, going back to serve other customers. After enjoying my drink, I decided to leave, and as I was about to, a man barged up to the bar, almost running into me. Thank goodness for my water sense. The man in question was a tall young man with a long thin ponytail, dressed in the normal attire for the Northern Water Tribe guard attire with sword and a short bow strapped on his back. Pico, he yelled, running straight to the counter. The man seemed greatly upset as he banged his fists on the countertop, making me wonder if I would have to intervene. But something was off. The man looked familiar, but I could not quite remember where I had seen him before. Odd, I wonder where I had seen him. Pico looked up from the drink he was making. Ah, Ron. How can I assist you? Did you come to pay me what you owe me? There was a certain bitterness in his tone. I told you to not tell anyone, cried Ron in anger. I will make sure you, all right, time to do my job. You will make sure of what? I inquired with slight amusement. Shut the fuck, the poor man couldn't finish his sentence when he realized who was I. By all means, continue, I smirked. His reaction was delightfully delicious. Sir, it was not my intention to. I shushed him. As I walked towards him, the bar had by this point gone completely silent. Now, pay your bill, and never come back, I whispered, close to his ear, or I will freeze your balls, capiche? Yes, the man nodded in fear. Good, I smiled, patting his cheek, as I turned to Pico. Thanks for the drink, a pleasure, Mr. Demon. Pico waved at me as I left his bar. After leaving the bar, I decided to buy some groceries, and with that in mind, I was now walking down to the trade street. It was noon, so it was now full of people and patrolled by pairs of elite uniformed city guards. This place was very well guarded, one of the most guarded places actually, mostly to avoid thievery and similar stuff. As I turned around a corner around one of the many shrines, I found myself on a tranquil street where people were surrounding something. White fur was around the general area, and I was sure I could smell the faint yet invasive smell of wet fur. It took me a second to manage to get around the people, to see something that made my day even better. Appa, besides the big sky bison, is none other than the young avatar, Aang, and his friends. Aang was currently explaining to the people around his pet how much Appa loved food. Welcome to the Northern Water Tribe, I smiled. People around started to slowly scatter. So, you are the demon of the north? Sokka inquired in disbelief, and I have to say, I was impressed at the speed they learned about me. You don't seem that tough, he added. You can always try, and see how tough I really am. I smiled at Sokka, which in turn made him take a step back. We're looking for Pakku, Aang said, breaking the silence. Do you know where to look? He asked with a hint of hope in his voice. I do, I nodded. Go to the palace, and ask the chief for him. Why do they call you the demon of the north? Katara inquired. They just said to avoid you, but you seem nice. Appearances are deceiving. I winked at her, getting a blush from her and a glare for the ever-pacifist avatar, and, well, the title was given to me after I defeated Pakku. You defeated the Grand Master. Sokka smiled. Maybe you can teach Aang instead. No, I shook my head with a laugh. I have other things to do. No, I didn't. See you later. One glance at him showed me something. He was still too weak to entertain me, for now. I was going to wait for him to grow. In the meantime, I have one thing to stop, and killing Zhao was the key to do it. Iroh POV, Zhao was going to fail this invasion. His mind was not at peace with itself. His mind was stuck in the past, while dreaming of a glorious future where he would be the one to win this war. And he was forgetting the delightful present. Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment. Wise words, words that most ignored. We are 2 months away from the Avatar, Zhao stated. I will destroy the Avatar and the Northern Water Tribe, all in one. I will win this for the Fire Nation. Such confidence only brings misfortune. I smiled at him. Be always wary of your enemy. He's a child, Zhao scoffed. You would be surprised of what a child can do when pushed against a corner, I stated. Don't forget Zhao, even a child can become a monster to be feared if pushed enough. He's nothing to be afraid of, but I am overconfidence. It will be his own outdoing. After all, overconfidence will only drown him in a sea of reality. Aang POV, the demon of the north, I didn't expect him to be so, not demon-like. But there was something in his eyes, something when he was looking at me. Something hungry. That guy thinks he's too good for us. Sokka was still rambling above how he didn't want to teach me. He has a life, Sokka. We can't expect him to drop his duties for us, Katara stated. Besides, if Pakku trained him, maybe he can duplicate that result with us. The idea of training with Katara, it made my heart pump blood a bit faster. I would love to. Well, I for one will volunteer with the warriors of the tribe, Sokka said with a wide smile. I'll make us some money, and show how good the Southern Water Tribe really is. Thanks, Sokka, I smiled. I was lucky to have such good friends. Chapter 19. Time is a funny thing when excited. It seemed just yesterday Aang had arrived, and that was 2 months ago, and surprisingly enough things had gone in the canon path. Aang was accepted by Pakku right away, and on the other hand, Katara got rejected, also right away. But after a little fight between the two, Katara also got to learn with Pakku. Though there was one part that was out of the canon line. You didn't like Sokka, she said, and I quote, "The guy is cute but too immature." And I suppose she's right, I couldn't really tell. Things were going rather well, for everybody, for now. If my memory serves me right, the Fire Nation would attack anytime soon. Though this invasion would go rather different, I wasn't going to allow him to kill the spirit in you. He was going to die by my hands, a very painful death, though I couldn't help but wonder, was I truly capable of taking a human life? I knew I had made my peace with that fact, the fact I would inevitably have to kill at one point. But would that matter in the end? I suppose I will find out soon enough. To think the Avatar was alive, you said, snapping me out of my thoughts. It is, I nodded, deciding it was time to tell her I was leaving soon. I wanted to tell you that you are leaving soon, you said, stopping me mid-sentence. I know. I have known for a while, I don't care, as long as you promise you will come back one day. She added with hope in her eyes. I winked at her playfully. I will, one day, so when? You asked. Soon, just waiting for something to happen, God, since when I'm this cryptic. I see. I put my hand on her mouth. I felt something moving towards us, my water sense felt something. At a prodigious speed, a man leapt from the roof of a house in the market we were walking, his arms and legs spread wide as if skydiving. I kept my eyes on the man, seeing how he easily landed on one of the guards in the market in a frog crouch. His armor, his body temperature, and how he burned a house in the market as soon as he landed. There was no doubt, Zhao was here. As he stood up, blood dripping from his razor-sharp blade, he stared at me. No, it was at you. Get back to the castle, I ordered you with a tone that left her no option but to comply. I will deal with this. I turned to see two guards behind me. Stay with her at all times. Almost immediately after you left with the guards, panic cries broke out and the guards in the market got into action, as more and more Fire Nation soldiers jumped down from nearby roofs. The assailants all wore identical armors. As the battle started in the marketplace, the first soldier I had laid my eyes on started the combat with a powerful stream of fire that was about as useful as an ass-flavored lollipop, for all it took me to counter his attack was to rise a wall of ice thick enough to block his attack. Well, with a sigh my hand moved in a blur, and immediately after the fast movement several ice spikes pierced the man in front of me, killing him. It seems I'm not that troubled at the whole killing thing. Oh well, too bad for the invaders. One by one I continued to mutilate the Fire Nation soldiers as I made my way to the gates, where the real fight had just begun. The city was on fire. It was truly terrifying how fast things could go from peachy to fucking hell-like. I continued moving forward, and as I was to kill another Fire Nation soldier, I decided to try a new approach. Where is Zhao? I asked the man as I froze his legs and arms in an icy prison. I will never. The man didn't finish his sentence, and how could he? The poor thing had his head rolling on the icy floor, leaving a sticky trail of blood behind its bloody path. Well, let's keep going, I sighed, as I continued to do what I was paid for, killing these bastards. Though I had to be honest, so far this had been quite disappointing. They were very, very weak. Was everyone that weak overall? Then again, I was fighting your run-of-the-mill soldier, nothing special. Just disposable pawns in this war. If I were Zhao, where would I? And then it hit me, if I were Zhao, I would still be on my ship, planning, well, let's say hi. Zhao POV, we had 4 hours before the night started to approach, 4 hours to deal as much damage as possible. We should wait for the morning to come. The darker it gets the more powerful the water tribe will be, Iroh stated, and the old decrepit fart was right. I will, but for now, we will weaken them. My plan was perfect. The only way to stop the water tribe was by killing the spirits that gave them the power in the first place. But that would have to wait for now. I didn't want the sentimentality of Iroh trying to stop me. Sir, we are having a problem, a soldier said, pointing to my fleet, and from afar I could see a massive wave was coming our way. So far the wave had knocked 2 of my ships, which shouldn't be possible. The Fire Nation's ships were designed to break waves with ease. How many benders do they have doing this? I wanted an answer. I demanded an answer. It seems it's just one, Iroh commented as he saw through a spyglass. This will be hard. I haven't seen a waterbender with such skill since the Battle of the Mists. Who the fuck was that bender behind all this? It didn't matter when I got my hands on the bastard, he would be dead. Retreat and regroup for now. That tricky bastard will keep throwing waves at us until there is nothing left but bodies in the frozen sea. Anger will not win this siege, Iroh commented with a smile. Chapter 20. It took me a while to figure out which ship his entire fleet was Zhao at, but eventually I did, and here I stood face to face with Zhao a few meters away from each other. The admiral stood upright, arms crossed, with a cocky expression on his face. I was calm, sporting a hungry smile for battle. Iroh was in the corner looking at me with expectation. The two Fire Nation men took a few seconds to observe me closely before doing anything. This was going to be fun. That much I could tell from Zhao's expression said that much. His face said that I was a waste of his time, and I was about to prove him wrong. Is nothing personal, is just business. I lied, this was personal. Now let's do this, shall we? The admiral sighed in annoyance, uncrossing his arms and stretching his right hand, forming it into a fist towards me. A torrent of fire sped out of his fist towards me. He was stronger than all the soldiers I had killed, but not by much. With disappointment, with a sigh I moved sideways, dodging his attack by a few inches. Darting forward with a water whip I had created, I proceeded to grab his ankle, dragging him towards me, as I slowly restrained him with water. You are a disappointment, I said a few inches from his face. Zhao was shocked and surprised to see my face only an inch away from his, but that surprise soon turned into anger, and in response burned through my water restraints and jumped backwards. Zhao wasted no time. At this distance, fire of all sizes was supposed to be lethal, and he knew that, and with the fact I was so close, his mind shouted he could hit me. So with all his strength, he threw the biggest torrent of fire he could muster with his hand, but his right hook and torrent of fire merely brushed the now heated air. Dodging someone with a battle mindset so straightforward, not thinking at all his approach was extremely easy, and feeling his entire body move, and everything else with water sense made things even easier. So, I leaned back, avoiding the upcoming blow without any problem. This enraged Zhao, who kept throwing his attacks one after the other. It was sad. Zhao seemed shocked none of his attacks were connecting, and little by little his style was slipping. He was letting anger and frustration take control, making his attacks even easier to dodge. Stay still, Zhao shouted in anger, swinging his hands together and stretching them forward. 20 fireballs exploded out of his palms, some of them colliding violently with the walls of the ship. One of them even connected with Iroh, who simply put the ball off with ease. At this point Zhao wasn't even trying to aim at me, he had lost whatever little sense he had. Rolling my eyes at him, I erected a wall of very cold water moving at a very high pressure. The water was so cold that it created a mist around, that only expanded more thanks to Zhao, but even then, Zhao just continued his attack, as he cried out, I've killed more people than you can imagine. Thousands of your kin. I will not lose to you. I am Zhao, the greatest admiral in the world. Well, then, the standards must be very low. I had calmly walked behind him, with all the steam around and his lack of sense, he didn't notice he was attacking an empty wall of water. Zhao was shocked, and his eyes were now showing a bit of fear, but mostly anger. I smiled at him, with a calm demeanor, still completely uninjured. After all, I had managed to dodge all the Admiral's attacks effortlessly. Winking at his shock, I gathered water at one point on my index finger as I put a lot of pressure on it with my mind. Zhao jumped back, as I shot the water bullet at him that, while looking harmless, was enough to break his arm, shattering to a now useless appendage. He took a second to register what had just happened, before he started to scream in pain. Did you know water with enough pressure can even pierce metal? Or in this case, shatter bones? I lost an arm. So what? Zhao cried in anger, quickly springing, using his remaining arm to fight. I just sighed as I avoided every one of his attacks. They were so out of touch it was now painfully easy to do so. You won't touch me. Our strengths are miles apart, I stated, with a bored tone. Zhao was raging internally and externally, not giving up at all, continuing his pointless attacks. For him the idea of me being stronger was impossible. It was too humiliating to his overgrown ego. This was getting sadder and sadder by the second. Well, I already broke your spirit, time to break your body. I added the last part as I shattered his legs with another high-pressure water explosion. Taking his life won't fix anything, Iroh said, finally interrupting the battle. Is up to you to show you are better. I looked at Iroh, and then at the bleeding and utterly defeated Admiral Zhao. But Iroh, I'm worse. I smiled at him, as a massive high-pressure water bomb floated from the sea into the room. This world already has a savior, so I'll take the demon opening. With a snap of my fingers, Zhao was reduced to nothing but a bloody stain in the room as the water bomb exploded, coating everything but me with his blood. Now, command the idiots of the Fire Nation out of here, before I quite literally steal God's thunder by turning the sea into a sea of blood. Iroh looked at me and nodded. If you ever need to sort the demons you have allowed within your spirit, come to me. I'm always willing to help, and I always have good tea. Iroh POV. I looked at the young man and nodded. I suppose I was expecting too much by asking him to forgive Zhao. If you ever need to sort the demons you have allowed within your spirit, come to me. I'm always willing to help, and I always have good tea. I smiled, wondering if he would let me help him. If I ever need to, sure. Akira smiled. Maybe we could have a nice cup of tea now. He sounded excited for some reason. Was my jasmine tea that famous? I don't see why not. I did. He had just painted an entire room with someone's blood, but I didn't blame him for the action but for how he did it. In war death is unavoidable, but this was brutal in many ways. You think I'm a monster? Akira smirked at me. I am, don't overthink it, but I'm one with pseudo-good intentions, not like your brother. I chuckled bitterly at that. We all have a monster within, young warrior. The difference is in degree, not in kind. Akira looked at me shocked. Even you? He inquired. Yes, even me. Chapter 21. Iroh's tea was delicious. No, more delicious than I had expected. A truly magnificent work of art, making any other tea I had ever tasted garbage. It was impressive how good a cup of tea could be. Do you like it? Iroh inquired with a soft smile, and I couldn't help but wonder, why was he trusting me? I do, I nodded, holding the cup up to him, asking for a refill. It's safe to assume your nephew is trying to capture the Avatar right now as we speak, right? I chuckled. So much anger, he needs more help than I do. I pointed to the fact he was here trying to help me instead of helping him nephew. Yes, Iroh chuckled with a tone of sadness. He is on a path of self-discovery. After all, anger is a sign something needs to change, but only him can change that something. All I can do is guide him through his trials. And what about me? I inquired, as I took a sip of my delicious tea. Everyone has a monster deep within. There is a poem that explains that in detail, and it goes like this. Iroh smiled. The monsters were never under my bed. That was a nothing but myth. Because the monster was inside my head. I fear no monsters, for no monsters I see. Because all this time the monster has always been me. That was deep. That is deep, but it has so many meanings. It means, we make our own monsters, then fear them for what they show us about ourselves. Iroh explained, as he filled my cup of tea. We can't escape our minds, but we can control what we are. Some are not worth forgiving. I sighed. No, but sometimes we must forgive the unforgivable. Iroh smiled. Like you did, with the people of Ba Sing Se, I said, knowing all too well how his son Lu Ten had died. I did, Iroh smiled, his face full of pain. I'm sorry, I said softly. The most painful goodbyes are the ones that are left unsaid and never explained, Iroh said as a tear fell down his cheek. At the beginning I wanted nothing more than to destroy the city, but I decided it was best to let go of my hate. Thanks for the tea. I nodded as I stood up. I will take your words to heart, but don't expect much of me. It was a pleasure to have some nice tea with you. Iroh smiled, back to his cheerful self. It was. I nodded. Aang POV, the Northern Water Tribe was under siege, and their numbers were overwhelming. I knew deep down there was no way the tribe would survive. Or at least that's what I thought until Akira appeared in the battlefield. I finally understood why they called him a demon. His disregard for life was painful, he was killing every enemy on his way, and he was showing no remorse. It's not right, I stated, all life is precious, he has no right to take it, Aang, this is war. Sokka sighed, I know you don't want to, but a war can't be won without bloodshed, it's a sad reality, but is the one we live in, he has the power to stop them without violence, I countered, he simply chose to kill them. I did, that voice, Akira. Why? I inquired, as I turned to face him. Aang, you are but a child that unfortunately has a big role in this wicked game, Akira chuckled bitterly, but I understand, he smiled, slowly floating towards me. How? Was he an airbender? Normally it is forbidden to kill, therefore all murderers are and should be punished unless, of course, I kill in large numbers and to the sound of trumpets. War is not an excuse to dash, and the split of an eye. Akira had punched me in the guts, taking all the air out of my lungs. You don't like the way the world works? Akira smiled, kneeling to my level, then change it, you have the power to do so, but as long as you are this weak, your voice will be drowned in the million cries of pain of the people that you failed to save. He winked at me, next time, show me how strong your resolve is, Aang, can anyone unfreeze me? Sokka shouted. Next time. UPOV, the siege started, and it ended in less than a day, and I knew it was all thanks to Akira. Hey, I turned around to see Akira, smiling at me, is everything over? I asked. It is, Akira nodded, jumping into my bed like a kid, it's time to go, isn't it? Do you have to? I need to see the world, I need to find my path, Akira answered, stretching his hands as if trying to catch something. I will miss you, I cried, hugging him tightly. Promise to visit. I will, if you promise to kick Han's ass, Akira chuckled. Do you need anything? Before leaving? I asked, ready to help him. No, Akira shook his head, kissing my forehead. Take care while I'm gone. I will, Akira POV. I had said my goodbyes to everyone I cared. Sakura, you, and here I was standing with Crowley on my shoulder, in front of the spirit oasis inside the royal castle. A few years ago, you two called me. I said, as I stared at the duo, forever dancing on the water. You two helped me, molded my very core to what I am today, and for that I will be forever thankful, CAW Crowley added. I will find a way to enter the world you two abandoned, and I will learn from the spirits, and one day I will come back, and see you two dance once again. I bowed, thank you masters, for all the knowledge you shared with me. Caw, yes, let's go. Crowley, I chuckled at my impatient partner. Chapter 22. After leaving the northern water on a trading boat, I became aware that I felt better the more I separated from the tribe. It was weird, to be honest. My normally aggressive state of mind was gone, and I couldn't help but shook my head in amusement at myself. But I couldn't hide the fact I felt better, enormously so. But why? I suppose I will find that out later. The ride in the boat was bumpy and the hay on my seat was itchy against my skin, but the night wind was pleasantly cool. The sea was calm and the sights of icebergs soothed my mind. Since the sun had set, the sea was completely dark most of the time, with the reflection of the moon shining on the water like a mirror. It was relaxing. Download app every now and then, I would catch strange movements in the sea. Wild beasts roaming wild in it. But nothing to worry about. Trader Hirsch was talking about the Earth Kingdom capital, Ba Sing Se, with a sense of pride, boasting about his prosperous cabbage market and stalls. It's a dangerous world out there, I just hope to go back home already, said Hirsch, after having finished telling me about his cabbage business. Why are you coming to Ba Sing Se? I want to see the world, I answered with a smile. Well, you choose correctly, Hirsch said with a wide smile. What do you think I should do first? I asked. Well, first you need to exchange the money you have to local currency, and then, well, I would recommend the springs of Ba Sing Se, Hirsch answered. Thanks, I smiled, as I decided to take a walk around the cargo ship. Always happy to help. Hirsch smiled, waving me goodbye. What a great man. After walking for a while on the ship, I found a perfect place to meditate. That was the only way to enter the spirit realm. And that wasn't a guarantee. Aang was the only one with a free ticket to that place. For me, it was more a matter of I was in tune just enough to pass. Closing my eyes, I let my breathing dictate my speed, and little by little I felt something pulling me. In reaction to that, I opened my eyes. And well, I was no longer on the ship. I was in a green plain, with a bunch of colored bunnies jumping around me. This wasn't supposed to be this easy. I tried for years to come. I meditated with the spirits of the moon. Why now? I asked myself, trying to understand what was happening. Is the why or the how really important? A Cheshire cat said, appearing in front of me. That's it. I went mad. Maybe it was all the killings, I muttered. We're all mad here. I'm mad. You're mad, the unknown spirit smiled, and boy did it look weird seeing his smile almost make a full circle. Do you know why am I here? I mean, why now? I asked the spirit. Well, does it really matter? The cat said in a low voice. You are here because you wanted to be here, or did you not want to come? I did, I nodded. Then why ask questions? The cat purred his laugh with amusement, teleporting behind me. Life doesn't always have the answer. Sometimes, you just have to go with the flow. Great, the cat was a hippie, I suppose. Want a tour? The cat inquired, as he stretched against a tree. Yes, I nodded. Perfect, he purred, cutting his own head off with a swift motion and throwing it at me like a basketball. As his decapitated body kept on walking like nothing, his head spoke, follow my body. Jesus fuck, you're crazy. I didn't know if I wanted to laugh or run, maybe both. For now, let's see how things go. The cat's head hummed before saying anything. I am not crazy, my reality is just different from yours. A very, very good point. You are absolutely right, I tend to be, until I'm not. The cat's head purred in answer, before it teleported to my shoulder, floating slightly above it, while he looked at me, with a long scrutinizing look. No wonder you are so in tune with the spirits. Why didn't you say so before? Say what? I inquired, having absolutely no idea what the cat was on about. That you're an empath. I'm a what now? I'll be honest with you. I have no idea what you're talking about. I knew I wasn't an empath. I was very bad at reading people, at least in the emotion department. Not many do. The cat smiled, reattaching his head. You are very similar to us spirits. Negative emotions will scar you deeper than you think. You will change around people that hate you, until you learn how to control this unlikely gift. Again, I don't feel or haven't feel anything. I shook my head. Not like that. Oh really? The cat's smile disappeared, as his body grew in size, emanating a dark mist around him. Anger, hate, agony. I instinctively jumped backwards. I was an easy prey here. I had no bending abilities in this realm. But if that fucker thought I would go down easy, he would find that he was wrong. See? The cat smiled, immediately returning to his original creepy but small state. You felt it, didn't you? The anger, the hate, the agony, all singing in your mind. He then popped behind me, and now, what do you feel? I blinked. He was right. I had been ready to kill him, or die trying a few seconds later, but now, all of that was gone, though I was still ready to at least defend myself. I mean, isn't that a normal human reaction? I mean, he did try to kill me. The cat purred in laughter, turning into smoke, as he appeared on a nearby tree. To some extent, yes, but you react to any emotion strongly. If you have many people around you that hate you, you will get more aggressive than usual. He paused to lick his hind leg clean, though for you to replicate the same result we just saw, you would need a lot of people close to you hating you, or fearing you. Don't take the spirit world as an example. All feelings are massively boosted here. It's an awful place to have a breakup, I tell you. Any way to stop it? I asked. WL, as he was about to answer. I felt a pull. It seems you are waking up. Until next time, this has been very entertaining, he purred as the darkness started to embrace me. Sir, are you okay? Sir! I'm up. I blinked in shock. Finally, you were meditating for 2 weeks, Hirsch sighed. I thought you were dead, and no matter how many cabbages I threw at you, you still didn't flinch, and that usually works. Mother used to do it with me all the time. 2 weeks? How is that shit even possible? I was there for like 10 minutes. Thanks. No wonder I'm starving, though not as much as I expected for 2 weeks. Chapter 23. It took the ship 2 extra weeks to arrive at the coast, where I took a cart with Hirsch the cabbage trader. The ride in the car was super bumpy and the seats were super uncomfortable. Who the fucks makes a seat out of stone? But at least the wind was pleasantly blowing by, and the cabbage guy was good company. The road cut across several farmlands and fields full of wheat and other crops. Weird animals whose names I didn't know were scattered in the fields, eating away the grass. Hirsch was still talking about the capital city of Ba Sing Se, and where to go, and I couldn't help but listen. After all, he was my sponsor to get in the city. You are going to love it. I will, I chuckled at him, though I wasn't paying too much attention. My mind was otherwise occupied with my time in the spirit world. I was apparently an empath, but on a supernatural level, meaning other people's emotions were able to influence my own emotions. Worst part was, I wasn't sure exactly what that entitled. But one thing was for sure, I was going to find a way to avoid such a thing. Look! Hirsch pointed out of the cart with excitement. Ba Sing Se. The walls were massive. No wonder they had survived so many sieges. This place was nearly impenetrable. Amazing, I muttered. By the time we arrived at the city it was a bit past noon in Ba Sing Se. Thanks to Hirsch I was able to get in without so much trouble. I couldn't help but smile. I remembered when I thought the Northern Water Tribe was a busy place. The streets in Ba Sing Se were 10 times worse. It was unbelievable. The architecture was also different, with Ba Sing Se having a more normal my old world way of building, with the buildings and houses being all entirely made out of wood and rocks. With a sense of wonderment I started to explore the city, getting a few stares from the people around, thanks to my Water Tribe attire, which added one thing to my to-do list, getting some new clothes. I kept on waking, exploring every little corner, but no matter what I saw or did, the events on the spirit realm were still haunting me. And not in a bad way, it was more like a mystery I wanted to solve, a puzzle I wanted to crack open. Maybe it was time to meditate again? Only there I would get my answers. Though the prospect of dying because time fluctuates differently in the spirit realm was not exactly enticing. Fuck it, life is too short to swim in a sea of what-ifs. I will meditate. With a newfound resolve, I went to the nearest currency trading house, exchanging more than enough money to stay at any hotel for any given time. But I wasn't picky. I basically picked the closest hotel to the coin house, and locked myself into the bathroom. Alright, time to meditate again. Getting into position I sat, controlling my emotions, my energy, and as the hours passed, I noticed nothing was happening. Why wasn't my meditation working? What had I done wrong that I didn't do the last time? The only difference between meditations was that in one I was on a ship, and now I was in a hotel. Was the ship more spiritually woken or something? No, that was stupid. Beyond stupid, it had to be something else. The people. The ship barely had anyone inside, no more than 20 people, and 80% of them were the crew making that shit work. And if that crazy cat was right, and emotions affect me, well, being in Ba Sing Se was going to make my meditations impossible. Alright, new plan, get out of the city, find a secluded spot, and get the cat to tell you more about this empath situation. Alright, I sighed, as I rushed out of the hotel, getting a cart to ride me to the gates of Ba Sing Se. Getting out of Ba Sing Se was somehow harder than getting in, which made no sense at all. Apparently it was suspicious that I entered and left during the same day. I had to explain to the guards I wanted to meditate out of the city, and that I would come back after my meditation was complete. They reluctantly accepted, letting me go, and marking my ID as pre-approved. After that, I decided to get as far away from the city as possible, trying to find the most secluded place in the vicinity, which much to my liking was a small lake, protected by a very small forest. Alright, let's try this again. I sat in front of the lake, as I could see the sun starting to go down, with its reflection shining in the lake. I focused once again in my breathing, and little by little I drifted into a world of slumber as welcoming warmth invaded my body. Spirit realm, I woke up to quiet, warmth and purring. Groaning, I blinked away the lingering haze of sleep as I groggily sat up, stretching, as I surveyed the area, the trees, the weird animals. There was no doubt, I was in the spirit realm. "Well, aren't you a sight for sore eyes?" a very familiar voice purred from my lap. "So you figured out how to get in here. Impressive. I have some questions," I said. "And I have some answers, though I can't say they are the answers to the questions you have. But they are answers nonetheless." The cat smiled as he exploded in a puff of smoke, reappearing in a nearby tree. "Why am I capable of entering the spirit realm so easily? I mean, not easy purse, but the avatar was supposed to be the only one, or at least the one with the most access. Spiritually inclined perhaps?" The cat said with a yawn. "Some humans have that skill, like that old guy that makes tea, Iro." He knew of Iro. It had to be Iro. "That's the guy. He makes a very, very good catnip tea. It's to die for." The cat purred in delight, as his head detached from his neck, falling to the ground for dramatic purposes. "I see," I nodded. At least now I had an answer to something. "The avatar is a bit different. He uses Rava to enter this realm, for while merged with a human, a spirit is forever bound to this realm, and so is the human," the cat purred, teleporting to my shoulder. "Rava and Vatu, I have forgotten all about them. How can I enter this realm, physically I mean?" "Well, isn't that a hard question?" The cat hummed, while hopping around me in the air. "Well, I suppose for now you have but two options if you wish to do that. 1. Getting the avatar to open a portal for you, or 2. Having a spirit to open a portal for you." I guess both are the same." I looked at the cat. "Can't you do it?" I asked with hope. The cat laughed. "No, sorry, only spirits living in the physical world can. All I can do is send you back to the physical world. Is a one-way ticket, you see. If you enter, you have to find someone to send you back. Quite simple." "Very well." I nodded in understanding. I had now acquired a new mission, finding a spirit to help me. "Why do you want to come anyway?" The cat purred his question in curiosity. It's not often humans want to dangle in the spirit world. I didn't have a straight answer for that. Was it the adventure? Or was it the chance of meeting Vatu? Or maybe one of those big-ass elemental lion turtles? I don't know, but I'll know once I do it. Chapter 24. I spend weeks in Ba Sing Se, fighting in the arenas every now and then, as I tried to figure out where to find a spirit that wasn't the spirit of the moon, to teleport me into the spirit world. If my powers of empathy, God that sounds lame, were as bad as the spirit cat had said, being in an environment where everyone feared me, hated me, or similar was going to be a problem for my meditation. I had need of a spirit that didn't have a fucking civilization around him. That or Aang, and well, I knocked him out the last time we saw each other, so it is pretty obvious I have to rule out that path. But where? My canon knowledge was much to my dismay rusty. I remembered bits, the important bits, like Aang winning and important plot-related stuff. "Think, Akira, think," I muttered, walking in circles in my room while Crowley ate a big pile of corn like the greedy cute bastard he was. I had to make a recount of what spirits Aang meets in the real world. Let's see. There was this panda spirit that Aang calmed down. Its name was Hey Bai. The panda lived close to a village, so that helps with the empath situation. Not many people around the Sunlin village, if I recall correctly. That was option 1. As for option number 2, it was a long-distant memory from the comics. Forgetful Valley. Situated outside the Fire Nation village of Hirae, the Forgetful Valley had 4 mystical, crystal-clear pools of water. It is said that on occasion, usually once a season, a wolf spirit will drink from one of the 4 pools. The valley is home to the Mother of Faces, whose presence is said can be discerned upon observing the various fauna and flora. They exhibit face-like markings when the spirit is nearby. Those were 2 options now, the cons and pros of each one. For one, Hey Bai was a very peaceful spirit, unless you tried to fuck with the forest, and if I remember correctly the panda was able to carry people in and out of the spirit realm. Now, in the Forgetful Valley we have the Mother of Faces. The Mother of Faces is said to be one of the most powerful and ancient spirits. Being older than Vatu and Rava, she has been around since the dawn of time, being responsible for giving faces to every living organism, bestowing plants, animals, and humans with them. No baby is born without her forming the face. The Mother of Faces is, funny enough, also the mother of Ko, the face stealer. Quite ironic. Both options were delightfully enticing, but the Forgetful Valley was more interesting. Why? Well, she was ancient and could talk, and well, Ursa the mother of Zuko was there, and well, that was bound to make things very, very interesting. Well, it's settled. Let's meet Ursa, and one of the most powerful spirits in existence. Maybe in retrospect I should go to the almost non-threatening panda. Iroh POV, Zuko, my dear nephew, was livid. He had once again failed to capture the Avatar. It was heartbreaking to see my nephew so lost, so out of touch with himself. He's going to the Earth Kingdom, Zuko growled, but the sources are not sure. Don't rush things. I smiled, patting his back. Life has its own reasons behind stuff. I have to. Zuko muttered, tears rolling down his eyes. He wanted so much to be loved by his father, to regain the honor he never lost. I don't know what to do, how to end this. I sighed. Life can be painful and messed up. I'm not going to lie. It gets complicated at the worst of times, and sometimes you have no idea where to go or what to do. I paused, taking a deep breath, remembering my actions when Luten died, my sins. Lots of times you just let yourself get lost, dropping into a wide-open, huge abyss of misdirection, darkest and eventually regret. But that's why we have to keep trying. We have to push through all that hurts us, work past all the memories that are haunting us. After all, is the things that hurt us, the ones that make us grow. He burned me. Zuko cried, I have to do this if I ever want Father to forgive me. You must find yourself. Before capturing the Avatar, before regaining what you never lost. I hugged Zuko. Find myself. I already know who I am. Zuko chuckled in pain, and besides, how does one even do that? Somehow. Someday, you'll find it. The balance between whom you wish to be and whom you need to be. But for now, you simply have to be satisfied with who you are. Don't change who you are to please others. Be the best version of yourself. If only you could understand that already, that the one that needs to change is the foolishness of my little brother. Thanks, Uncle, Zuko sighed, wiping his tears away. Now, what do you say we head to the Earth Kingdom? I smiled. I knew he still didn't understand what I had told him, or what I had tried to, but it didn't matter. I would be with him, by his side until he did. I was not going to fail him like I like with my dear Luten. That sounds like a trip worth having with tea, I chuckled. Then it's settled. The Avatar will fall, next time, Zuko stated, all signs of emotional turmoil gone. He was back to his angry self. Very well. I'll go pack my tea. I nodded, and for some unexpected reason, the image of young Akira sitting in front of the lake appeared in my head. It had been over a month since I had a cup of tea with him. Was this a message from the spirits? Perhaps it meant I would soon cross paths with my tea buddy. How delightful. Chapter 25. It took me a few days to start a well-thought plan to get to Forgetful Valley without getting lost. From Ba Sing Se, I started my journey, jumping from village to village, with the help of various merchants, but merchants could only take me so far. With the Fire Nation controlling a big piece of the land, it was nearly impossible to travel directly to where I wanted to go. I had decided to stay in the Serpent Pass enclosed for the night. Before embarking into the Fire Nation territory, I also had to buy some Fire Nation clothes to avoid unnecessary fights. The inn I found was a very old one, with the edge of my door worn from use, though most of the wood was smooth as if especially polished. Taking my key, I opened the door and found myself alone in a simple yet big room about 20 feet by 16. As I looked around, I noticed the unpolished wood floor was bare but clean, showing the owners were quite clean. On the left side, there was a long tiny window at the top of the wall which let through some light. In the middle of the room was the bed with the common hay mattress. "Not bad," I muttered, as Crowley flew to the bed. The only thing in the room besides my bed was a stove with a set of matches to cook, and a little bucket that were located on the floor against the far wall. Maybe the bucket was to do my human needs, who knows? "All right, let's see," I said, as I opened the map to see where I had to go next. One wrong choice and I would be months behind what I wanted to do. Here was a village that, well, it wasn't on the maps thanks to Ozai and his hate for Ursa, but I knew it was around the outskirts of the Fire Nation's original territory. Perhaps it was best to tackle the spirit realm by first going to Heibai. I was, after all, a few days away from the panda, but I had no real idea where the Mother of Faces truly was. "What do you think, Crowley? Should I insist on the Mother of Faces or try with the panda?" I asked, mostly to myself. There was also the point I had no guarantee the Mother of Faces or Heibai would actually carry me to the spirit world. Fuck it, I will try and find the village. Someone in the Fire Nation is bound to know, I decided, closing my map, choosing to stick to the plan. From Serpent Pass, I would take a cart to the Great Divide, and from there I would walk to a Fire Nation colony close to it, staying there for the night. And from that point it should be pretty easy to get to the Fire Nation territory, the original one I mean. Alright, time to literally hit the hay, I chuckled as I jumped to the bed, waking a now very angry Raven. "Sorry pal, I didn't see you there," I lied. "Every now and then, I like to bother my little friend." The next morning, I had the inn owner find me a ride to the Great Divide, and surprisingly enough he did so in under a minute. His name was Deku, and was the only cart in 100 miles. I could only hope he, like many other Dekus, didn't have the hobby of breaking every bone on his body. "Ah, Akira! Deku my Uber." I mean the cart rider said loudly. "Don't forget my payment." The man smiled, extending his open hand, waiting for the money. "Here you go," I chuckled, giving him what I had discussed with the inn owner. Immediately after I scrambled onto the cart, and discovered that it was full of dirt and hay that served as the seats. The first few hours of the ride were, well, bumpy is a fucking understatement. To put simple, I would need to water heal my balls after this, if I ever wanted to procreate in the future, and not only that but the rocks were basically beating me up, with the hay scratching the crap out of my skin, but I guess the day was pleasantly nice, so it wasn't all bad. The road was dull, with nothing but rocks and dirt in every direction. Not that I expected much. The map hinted this part of the trip was going to be lame. Maybe I needed to find a flying bison. In Legend of Korra they didn't seem to be extinct, and unless Appa was somehow able to clone himself, there were others around the world. "So, how long is this trip?" I asked, trying to entertain myself. "About 10 hours more," Deku smiled proudly. "I know the fast route. God, I miss cars." "I see. Well, I suppose the only thing I can do right now is relax and suffer through this hellish ride." Azula POV, Zuzu was after the Avatar, but like everything he did, he would fail, and I would once again prove to be victorious, to be superior, to be better, to be worthy of the admiration of my nation, my father, and my mother. To show her, she misplaced her love and support for Zuko, a little good for nothing. But first, I had to eliminate a prepubescent avatar and a little rumor that had been going on for quite a while. Akira, that was the name of the pathetic attempt from the Water Tribe to scare the mighty Fire Nation. Killing Zhao was not an accomplishment, that wasn't even a challenge, but the rumors of him being the justice. Chapter 26. After a very painful trip, I was dropped in the Great Divide, aka the Great Canyon of the Avatar world. From here things were easier for me to an extent, of course. Walking all the way to the Fire Nation colony was hard. It was a long way, and the harsh environment of this pseudo-deserted land made things harder than they should. But where is life? There is water, and while it wasn't in great amounts, I was slowly gathering water from the environment to help me on my way. Let's see, I hummed as I opened the map to check my location. If I was correct, I was around 200 miles away from the colony I wanted to reach, and that would take me weeks, so it was time to change my approach to a more creative one. I had two options. One, using my flying technique to literally bend my own ass towards the colony as fast as I could, or walk. Alright, time to fly it is. Normally, I would freeze small parts of my body to maximize water usage, technique, and flexibility. But right now, all I wanted was speed, so I had to be a projectile. And fast one at that. With that in mind, I created a layer of ice in my shoes, collar, hands, and knees, and started to bend my way up to the sky, the higher the better. Once I was close to the clouds, I started to gather all the water around, creating a sphere big enough to fit 3 people my size around me. With the water sphere ready, I moved on to phase 2, freezing the first layer of water to make the sphere hard on the outside, and also make the water harder to evaporate. Once that was ready, I started to spin the sphere with me inside as fast as I could. My idea was simple. I wanted to use the momentum of the centrifugal force to short the distance between the colony and me by shooting me like a fucking bullet into their direction. Ready, Crowley? Caw. I don't understand caws, but that sounded like a yeah. 2 hours later, in hindsight, I should have known this was an awful idea. At first it worked perfectly, but holding such a big body of water so high in the air was taxing my body and mind. It was painful. I could feel every fiber of my body screaming in pain as I slowly but surely lost altitude. Fuck, I said as I struggled to keep the construct of water in place, sweat dropping like I was doing the hardest workout ever. I hate myself so much right now. Having enough of the torturous bending exercise I had put myself into, I let gravity do his thing. As I slowly started to fall into the abyss, taking a deep breath, I pushed myself out of the ball, making sure to unfreeze the thing. Holy! I was gasping for air as I slowly hovered to the ground. If I had known that shit was going to be so taxing, I would have picked another option. Or thought of another way. I am never doing that again, not in a long time anyway. Note to self, make sure to train stamina while holding large bodies of water for a prolonged period of time. Caw. I turned to see Crowley. He was scared and angry at me. Heh, can't blame the little guy. As I was about to try and pet him mid-air, I saw a carriage move a few miles away, and ever further away, I was able to see the colony. I was one step closer to get where I wanted. Iro POV, my dear nephew was anxious. The fact the young avatar had a flying mount didn't help his mental state of always being one step behind. Train me, Zuko asked. I need something to pass the time, he added. You already have the basis of a good firebender, I smiled. All he needed to do was change the fuel of his fire, from anger to love. All you need is to find within you the enlightenment we all so desperately seek. I don't have time to try and enter a world of fantasies inside my head. Zuko shouted, I need to be stronger. How can meditating help me? With that, I won't ever get peace until I capture the avatar. Oh dear nephew. I smiled at him. It isn't by getting out of the world that we become enlightened, but by getting into the world, by getting so tuned in that we can ride the waves of our existence and never get tossed because we become the waves that we transcend the limitations our mind puts upon us. Enlightenment wasn't about having all the answers, it was about accepting you didn't have them all. By accepting the world and its beauty, only then, you will become what you are destined to be. The Fire Lord your father and I can't be. If I meditate, will you train me? After, Zuko sighed. If you really meditate. I don't see why not. I smiled, hoping one day he would understand my teachings. I will make you a cup of tea, to help you relax. You really love your tea, Zuko chuckled, showing for a brief moment the real him, the man I knew he could be. Well, I winked at him. No matter where you are in the world, you are at home when tea is served, I said as I started to walk towards the kitchen to make the tea I had offered. Perhaps today I would try that new blend I read in my tea book. It would be an adventure to experience with my dear nephew, a new tea together. Home. Zuko smiled. I like the sound of that, Aang POV. You don't like the way the world works? Akira's voice echoed in my head. Then change it. You have the power to do so, but as long as you are this weak, your voice will be drowned in the million cries of pain of the people that you failed to save. He was right. I had escaped my destiny once. Next time, show me how strong your resolve is, Aang. He was right. I couldn't complain about how the things in the world were going if I myself couldn't do anything about it. Aang, are you okay? Katara asked, putting her hand on my shoulder. Yeah, just thinking. I smiled. Is this about? Katara paused. Akira. She added the name with a bit of anger. He was right. I was happy she was mad at him to some extent, but Akira was right. If I wasn't happy with the world I was in, it was my duty to make it better. I was the Avatar, and even if I wasn't, it was my duty. That still didn't give him the right to punch you, Katara fumed. Or freeze me, but whatever, nobody cares about little old Sokka, Sokka added. Chapter 27. After taking a few hours to cool down my hurting body, I walked the remainder of the way, which was around 10 miles, arriving at the outskirts of the village before the night started, hiding in a bush. Once I was comfortably situated in the bush, I decided to survey the area. Before entering, this was after all enemy territory. The village in question was surrounded on all sides by hills and a very expansive forest on the back, but there was something more, something familiar, so using my water sense, I managed to feel a small river that ran through the forest. On the back there was lots of water, no wonder it felt familiar. Bordering the forest, there was a massive wooden, rectangular wall that separated the forest from the town. Meaning if push came to shove, that was my best possible escape route. As for ententes, the settlement had only one, a single gate at the front. My clothes said I was part of the Earth Kingdom. And my powers would say I was part of the Water Tribe, and neither of those were welcomed in Fire Nation settlements, so I had only one option, sneaking inside the village. All right, I nodded, knowing that was the best possible way to get in, without starting a fight, and considering right now bending hurts, thanks to my stupid idea, it was best if I played it safe, at least, for the moment. Using my water sense, I located all the guards around, and using that information, I moved around their lines of sight, avoiding them easily. But now I had to climb the walls of the village. Working through the pain, I created ice claws on my hands and feet, and started to climb the wall the exact moment the guards weren't looking. Taking the 30-second blind spot they had every 5 minutes. God damn. I'm all sore, I muttered, landing on the other side of the wall, behind a house. Now it was time for phase 2. Stealing clothes. If I wanted to continue this adventure, I had to look like I was part of the Fire Nation. Deciding it was perhaps divine providence, I climbed to the second-floor window of the house I had landed near after climbing the wall, and using the humidity of the environment, I forced the window open as I silently entered the house, praying whoever lived here was my size, or at least close. Let's see, I hummed, checking all the drawers of the room I had just entered, and thank God the clothes were somewhat my size. They were a bit bigger, but nothing I couldn't wear. After that, I decided to take a backpack that was in a corner inside a walk-in closet, changing it with my Water Nation one, putting all my stuff inside, including my dear pet, after I of course opened a big hole for him to breathe and stick his head out. Alright, I think I look native enough, I chuckled, feeling a bit like Link, entering houses and stealing shit. Maybe I should start shouting HYH while I take stuff. Caw, well, enough is enough, it was time to get out of this house. I wanted to sleep and I still had yet to find an inn, so taking a deep breath, with my new outfit ready, I got out of the house from where I came from, and as if I was part of their community, I started to walk among them, chanting in my head, "Don't be suspicious." The village was beautiful, filled with grandiose and brilliantly extravagant architecture. The Fire Nation was really ahead of their time in architecture. Where can I find a coin trade house? I asked a random villager. Just keep walking, you'll see the sign. The random villager answered, telling me I was going the right way. And just like he said, I found the trade houses, and all it took was a few minutes. Fire coin trade inside, I noticed they only had one trade option, Earth Kingdom currency to Fire Nation currency, and that they were scamming the heck out of me or anyone trying to exchange money, but for now I would get what I could. Even after losing 30% of my cash, I still had more than enough for the trip. Any ideas where I can find a good inn? I asked with a smile to the lady behind the counter. Go to the center, the Pagoda Inn is one of the best, the scammer, I mean lady, said. Thanks! I nodded, as I left the coin house not before taking a map of the village that was conveniently located in the door. Following the map, I found my way to the settlement center, finding a very unique structure, the famous 3 pagodas located in the center of the village. The central pagoda was the largest, while the other 2 identical ones to its sides were smaller. Each of the pagodas was 3 stories tall and had a yellow exterior with slanted black rooftops. Taking a quick glance around, I could see other smaller but similarly designed structures surrounding the pagodas. I need to invent a camera. No. Akira, you won't. Knowing how to use a camera doesn't give you the knowledge to build one, but one can dream. These amazing buildings were all centered around a wide and spacious square, at which many of the town's paved stone streets culminated, including the one that had driven me there. Around the buildings, many shops, restaurants, and inns were based around the square, allowing the square to thrive as a bustling commercial and social center, the reason why it was full of people. Close to one of the smallest pagodas, there was the inn I had been recommended, quite the creative name. It wasn't Pagoda Inn. Walking across the square, I noticed various firebender doing street shows, like breathing fire, juggling things on fire. Yeah, those things kinda lost their charm in this world. As I entered the inn, a massively tall man smiled at me. Welcome to Pagoda Inn. Are you looking for a room? The man, maybe an 8-foot tall man, inquired. Yes, I nodded. Chapter 28, Iro POV. I had made a terrible mistake. After we had arrived in the Earth Kingdom, I had confused the very white jade bush with the legendary white dragon bush. Thanks to my rookie mistake, I had poisoned myself. I think these berries can cure me. I pointed as Zuko walked in circles around me, or blind me. I'm not sure if they are bequee berries, or the deadly mock-old berries. I really needed to refresh my memory with all this beautifully deadly fauna in this world. No! Zuko shouted as I tried to grab the berries. Drinking tea from the mysterious plant is the reason you are ill. It's a very stupid idea to try a cure that with another unknown. Well, he had a point, but it's not like we had many options. We had no medicine of any kind in the ship we had stolen from Zhao's fleet, which we couldn't use anymore, because my not-so-dear niece was hunting us. If we head to the Earth Kingdom, and we are discovered, we will be executed, I stated, and if the Fire Nation soldiers around manage to capture us, we will be turned over to Azula. Earth Kingdom it is, Zuko answered without hesitation, and I couldn't blame him. Azula was cruel, beyond human comprehension. She was a monster my little brother nurtured, destroying and damaging any humanity she had in her, while praising her monstrous side, creating what she is today. I could have stopped him. Many times I thought about killing him. With that I could have saved Zuko from this pain, and Azula from this destiny. But I didn't. In the end, monsters like Azula and Ozai were nothing. The true terrors in this world were people like me, the ones with power who saw suffering, who heard the screams of 100 generations echoing for miles around them and still did nothing, but I had finally resolved to do what had to be done. The easy path is not the one that leads to victory, sometimes it only leads to damnation. Killing Ozai, my little brother, would solve nothing if I was the one doing it. With Zuko, the cycle of hate would end, the endless fire of destruction would finally be put down. Are you okay, Uncle? Zuko asked worriedly. Yes, dear nephew, let's go. I nodded, as I slowly stood up. Now let's start this journey. Zuko POV. Sometimes my uncle would feel like the smartest person in the whole world, full of wisdom and knowledge, and sometimes, he was just a big baby. How could he be so naive? Making tea with an unknown plant? He could have killed himself. He was careless sometimes. It will take us 2 days to arrive at the nearest settlement, I inwardly cursed. Don't worry, dear nephew, I have more than enough time. He didn't know that. Why can't he take his own life seriously? Doesn't he know I can't? We have to find people soon. We don't know how fast that poison you drank works. I sighed. For now, capturing the Avatar could wait. For now, the map we have shows there is a farming settlement nearby. If we walk non-stop through some roads, we should be there by the night. If we follow the normal route, there was a big chance. No, I won't think about it, because it won't happen. Very well, he smiled. I'm sure everything will turn out just fine. Just follow your gut, and guide me. I chuckled. My gut thinks we have to go this way. I pointed at the map. Akira POV, it was the evening of my 5th day in the Fire Nation village. Today the winds howled outside. As I drank a nice cup of Burning Desire, a Fire Nation drink famous around these parts. Thanks to the winds, the tavern's walls creaked worryingly, but nobody seemed to mind. As I continued to drink my alcoholic beverage, a few men and women entered and exited the tavern, spreading out across candlelit tables and cradling steamy drinks and hot food. Why was I still here? Well, my body and spirit were in need of rest thanks to my earlier stunt, and I decided to get that rest here, but my stay was coming to an end tonight. This week I had gathered all the supplies I needed to make this journey, at least until the next city. "You all right there, friend?" a deep voice asked, snapping me out of my train of thought. With a smile I look up to see Moro, the owner of the Phoenix's Heart Tavern, standing across the bar from me, polishing a mug against his worn-out apron. "You look like you need to talk." "Huh, every bartender is incredibly friendly here." "Neat." The old man smiled as he pulled a bottle off the shelf behind him, proceeding to pour a new drink into my empty glass. "If there's something troubling you, feel free to share." "That's what we bartenders are for," he chuckled. "Nothing much," I chuckled, "just planning my journey, nothing deep or emotional." "Well, if you need someone to hear you out, you know where to find me," Moro smiled, as he walked to attend to another customer. But I stopped him, as I started to talk. "Actually, do you know a good cart around here? I wanted to actually sleep on the ride, not suffer." Moro hummed before asking, "Where do you want to go?" "To the port," I answered. Moro smiled. "Yes, I have a guy." "Hey kiddo," a random man sat beside me. "I hear you needed a ride." Jesus Christ. When and how these two communicated or exchanged the information I was just giving. "Yes I do, old Khan here is the best around," Moro stated. "If you want a fast and comfortable ride, I vouch for him." "Very well, I want to leave tonight or tomorrow morning," I informed the rider. "Tomorrow morning," Khan winked. "I have to let the wife now. I'll be off for a few days." "Works for me," I chuckled. "Well, if you need me, I'll be polishing the mugs in the back," Moro said, going to the back of his establishment. Chapter 29. After 1 month of painfully slow sea travel, I had finally arrived at the Fire Nation. It took a lot of money and illegal activities to do so, like for example, sneaking in the ship because I had no papers and there was no fucking way I was going to back down after being so close. But none of that mattered. I was finally here, in the jaws of the lion. The prospect was both scary and exhilarating. I still had a lot to travel, but it would not hurt to take it easy for the time being and enjoy the scenery. Until I know for sure where the Mother of Faces really is. For now I was going to enjoy my stay in Shujing. The place was beautiful. It almost seemed designed to be pleasant and welcoming, like a trap, but it was most likely a place for old warriors to retire. After all, it was incredibly peaceful. And I could feel it. Maybe the empath thing was actually a thing with me now. "Great. Caw, what up buddy, you found anything?" I chuckled. Crowley for one was excited to meet new places, and angry I didn't cook like Sakura did. Ungrateful little. As I walked around the plains with Crowley, a canal of water caught my attention. It was mesmerizing, the crystal clear water with the occasional fish or turtle swimming beneath the water lilies that grew near the canal banks. I mindlessly followed the road along the water into a particularly unique building, making me realize why I had a sense of déjà vu here. Perched high on a cliff, there was a beautiful castle overlooking the faraway town of Shujing, and that castle was no other than the famous Pindao's castle. With a smile I used my water sense to feel the entire building. It took me a few seconds, being that the building was massive and getting information from so far away was hard, but now I had a better idea what to expect. The castle had around 14 bedrooms, with 2 gardens, one on the front and one at the back. Inside there were 5 people, all of them separated in different rooms. Maybe I could get some sword training with the guy. God knows I'm not the best at hand-to-hand combat. It could be an interesting way to utilize my time off my plan, at least until I find where in the heck is Forgetful Valley. And there is always the chance he knows where my destination is, otherwise I would be very disappointed in the intellectual prowess of the White Lotus. Azula POV, rumors were spreading far and wide that little hope of the water tribe was traveling around the world. Many think he's just looking for something, but I wasn't stupid, he was heading towards the Fire Nation. How I found out was simple, the rumors had casually spread on a straight line towards the Fire Nation. One day he was riding towards the Great Divide and the next, no one knew where he was. Well, I did. There was a Fire Nation colony a few hundred miles from the Great Divide, and it was much too convenient he disappeared that close to it. Meaning he had infiltrated the sheeps. But for now, I would allow this. After all, it would be much more fun when Father asked me personally to kill the vermin under our noses. For now, I would let him play his game while I played mine. They were here, Ty Lee stated in her ever-cheerful and annoying demeanor. A few days back, 3 at a time, I added. It's all right, they will eventually meet their end in our hands, I smiled. After all, Zuzu, Iroh, the Avatar and his peons would all inevitably fall under my might. Any news about the water guy? Ty Lee inquired. For now, he isn't our concern, Akira POV. After knocking at the castle a few times and getting no answer, I decided to meditate. It had been quite a while since I talked with that crazy cat after all. Taking a deep breath, I let the world around me disappear, like the wind of spring taking the cold away, but this time, something felt different, something felt foreign, darker and much, much more inhuman. Intriguing, a voice thundered inside my very core, shaking my stance like an earthquake. The voice seemed to come from everywhere around me, the feeling was darker than anything I had ever felt. Inwardly cursing in shock, I opened my eyes to confirm my suspicions. I wasn't in the forest I would normally get after meditating. I was inside a tree, with a dark entity. Fuck, I cursed, in front of no other than fucking Vaatu, wondering how in the fuck was this happening. It was supposed to be impossible to enter his prison. How can a human so in tune with the spirit world be so ignorant? Vaatu chuckled in amusement, and well, this wasn't what I had been expecting at all, fear not. I don't want to kill you, yet. The evil spirit bent down ponderously, probably trying to figure out how to deal with me. You are Vaatu, right? I asked, trying to make conversation, as I struggled to force my spirit back to my body to no avail. Maybe it was all the negative energy. Chapter 30. Before Vaatu was even able to offer his deal, I felt the pull back to the real world, and I was glad I did. Whatever diabolical idea he had, I wanted no part in it. Young man, are you lost? The question startled me back to reality. It was the Master Piandao, who had walked out of his castle waking me up from the spirit world. He was dressed in an expensive red and black kimono with gold lines on the edges, with a sheathed sword thrust through his obi, his eyes deep and kind. Note to self, don't meditate ever again. I was actually looking for you, I answered. Interested in the way of the sword, then? Piandao said, with an amused tone. I nodded in answer. The old master stood silent for a second, giving me a long scrutinizing look, before he motioned for me to follow him. Come here, young man. As I followed him, a man approached the master, eyeing me with curiosity and surprise. Master Piandao, are you finally getting a new student? Master Piandao barely showed any emotion as he looked at me. Well, that depends on him. Hey kid, the man extended his hand giving a handshake. The name is Fat, and just a heads up, Master Piandao turns down almost every aspirant, so don't expect much. After that little interaction, the old master took me to a room and asked, why are you looking to train? This was a test, one that Sokka had passed thanks to his humility. Was I humble? Not really. I knew I was strong, but if I said that he would outright reject me. So I had to be humble. I need to get stronger, I answered, realizing if I had to be humble, I would have to be truthful about my weaknesses. I have no idea how to properly use a sword. That wasn't a lie. I was good at bending, but not at the normal aspect of fighting. If you have me, I would like to learn how to be a proper swordsman under your teachings. Piandao looked at me, showing not emotion for a long minute, as if trying to see any sense of falsehood behind my words. Very well, I will teach you how to be a proper warrior in the ways of the sword. I will be honored to learn with you, I smiled. You will do more than learning how to use a sword. A real swordsman needs more than a blade to be won with his blade, Piandao stated. You will learn to take care of the garden, you will practice calligraphy, and you will use a dull blade until you're ready to wield a real blade. He paused. Do you still want to learn? Well, that was sure a lot of work, but for now, it was better than doing nothing. Yes, I will do what I must. Very well. Piandao nodded. Go with that, he will instruct you. Want to do in the garden, Iro POV. Zuko was angry with our situation. From royalty to beggars, it really affected him, a lot. Some coin for this old man, I asked with a wide smile, as people passed by dropping coins in my hat. This is humiliating. We are royalty, people should be giving us what we want. Zuko hissed in anger, showing his ignorance to the outside world. They will, if we ask nicely, I smiled. I knew Zuko would soon learn the harsh realities of this war, and it would forever change him for the better. After all, he was now a victim of his father's regime, like everyone else. We don't need any kindness, Zuko said, practically growling. We won't once we have the avatar. Sir, can I have a coin? A little girl asked, approaching us. Sure, I smiled, giving her part of what I had collected. Thanks! The girl smiled, beaming with newfound happiness that already made this beggar thing worth it. We don't have anything. Why are you wasting what little we have? Zuko asked after the girl left, skipping with a happy smile, shocked I had given part of the money we had collected. Love and kindness are never wasted, dear nephew. They always make a difference. They bless the one who receives them, and they bless you, the giver. I smiled at him. Besides, no one has ever become poor by giving. That only makes you richer where it really matters. Zuko sighed. Well, she did look hungry. I hope no one takes that money from her. And there it was, the kind young man I believed in. I'm sure she will be fine, I smiled. Does that actually make a difference? Zuko suddenly asked. Tomorrow she will be hungry once again. Are you actually helping? I looked at him for a second, before replying, Dear nephew, there's no such thing as a small act of kindness. Every kind act we do creates a ripple of goodness with no logical end. We don't have to be kind because it will change something. We have to be kind because it's who we are, I suppose, Zuko sighed. And sometimes, you can accomplish by kindness what you cannot by force. I winked at him. I'm sure the Avatar will go with me to the Fire Nation if I ask nicely, Zuko replied with a low chuckle. Maybe not now, I laughed. Little by little I was leaving a mark on my dear nephew, and soon he would learn that the purpose of life is not to be happy, not completely. The real purpose of life was to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to be kind, to be fair, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. We are all here to serve, one way or another. Uncle, do you think we will capture the Avatar anytime soon? Zuko asked, his head low. Only time will tell. No. I knew for a fact you would never capture the Avatar, for your destiny was another, but unfortunately you aren't ready to hear it yet. Chapter 31. If you want to read ahead, go and check https://www.patreon.com/cornbringer. I'm currently updating twice a day on Patreon. Love ya guys. 2 weeks later. So far, my training with Piandao has been fun, even the gardening part that I was pretty sure he put me to just because he doesn't hire any landscapers. Calligraphy was a breeze. The one I was having troubles with was with the way of the sword. You are not used to weapons, are you? Master Piandao asked with an amused tone, stopping our daily spar. I am not, I chuckled. You are treating our spar as if it was a bending fight, Master Piandao said with a frown. And I couldn't do anything but stared at him in mild shock. Your stances are all barehanded water-bending stances. The old man smirked at me as he went on about my flaws in hand-to-hand/weapon combat. A bit risky against armed opponents when you are not using bending. You would do well learning a few sword stances. Since when? I asked after a second. Since the day I met you, Piandao replied, showing little to no emotion. I don't care where you come from, that doesn't matter to the way of the sword. If I had had any doubts about him or his motives, I was now completely sold. This man was awesome on my list. So I have to forget about my stances. I muttered. No, Piandao shook his head. You need to insert them, like a good condiment. Alone is nothing, but with a good base, can be glorious, a food metaphor, neat. So I have to complement my base with what I know, not the other way around, meaning I would have to form a really good base with my sword, and then I would improve them with my water style. Exactly, Piandao nodded, sounding pleased. My style has been honed by taking bits from every culture I had encountered, the aggressive side of the Fire Nation, the solid defense of the Earth Kingdom, the motions of the Water Tribe, and the flexibility of the Air Nomads. I see, I nodded. I will give you the base. It's up to you to build something beautiful with it, or let it die like a rose in winter, Master Piandao added, as he left the training yard. 2 weeks later, the days passed with me training and losing swords with Piandao over and over and over again. It was humiliating, but at the same time, I was happy to be learning. After our talk that day, things seemed to click better for me. It had become easier to learn. You have improved tremendously, Piandao said, pleased with my development. You are ready. Ready? For what? For what? You have learned the bases of the sword. It's time for you to make that something of your own. That was it, a month of training? I mean, yes, I did learn, but a month. Isn't this a bit fast? I inquired with uncertainty. Learning how to swing a blade correctly takes no time, Piandao smiled. Becoming a great swordsman, now that takes decades. I know it seems fast, but if I keep teaching you, you will only copy me. The sword, the user, and the style have to be unique if you have to truly be a warrior. I suppose that's right, I chuckled. If you want you can stay, but I know you have other things to do, Piandao said, giving me a map. What you seek is in there. I took the map with a childlike sense of excitement, and smiled. Inside there was the location I had been looking for in his library. Every time I asked you said you didn't know, and so did Fat. I eyed him with a chuckle. I wanted to finish your training first. An incomplete base is worse than no base at all, Piandao stated. Thanks for everything, Aang POV. Finding an Earthbender master was harder than I had originally anticipated. With Boomy out of the picture, things had become more complicated. I had to find a master that listened before striking. A master on the ways of the neutral Jing. Boomy stated that the neutral Jing is the key to earthbending. The art of the neutral Jing apparently involves listening, though seemingly doing nothing, and waiting for the right moment to strike. And it did make sense, for when in combat, earthbenders are usually more stationary than other benders, waiting for their opponent to come to them, while standing their ground and meeting their opponent's attacks head-on, before delivering a deadly counterattack of their own. I'm sure your master will be huge. Sokka smiled. Big muscles, big power. Muscles mean nothing in bending, Sokka, Katara sighed. Katara is right. Bending is more about the spirit, and less about the body, I added. Will. I still think your master will be huge, Sokka shrugged. Toph POV, I was the best of the best, unmatched, undefeated, and I ran out of UNS, but it doesn't matter, I'm awesome. These idiots in the arena keep trying to take my throne, but none of them will ever even manage to make me sweat. In the arena, I was a goddess. But at home I felt worthless. The shame that tormented me was all the more corrosive for coming from the people that were supposed to see value in me, and yet saw nothing but the surface of what I was. I didn't know why I felt so tainted, and worthless, and wrong with them, only that I did, and that whenever I was in the arena I felt partly whole. In the arena, I wasn't the poor blind girl everyone felt pity for, no, I was the blind bandit, a powerful and independent earthbender, a force to be reckoned with. Lady Beifong, it's time for your bath, one of the servants said. I think I can take this one myself. I was blind, not stupid, why can't they see that? I'm afraid I can't let you do that, there are many dangers during bath time. Once again, I was refuted immediately. I hate this. That's the end of this tale for now. Thank you for watching part 1 and I'll see you in part 2. Peace.